Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Georgia Postgame Overreaction show presented by UGAsports.com and Benton Attorneys at Law. I'm your host, Paul Meharry, joined alongside Jason. But as we recap what just happened, Notre Dame 23, Georgia 10 in the Sugar Bowl, and this didn't feel like a fun game to watch pretty much any of the quarters, Jason, and it was a rough watch. And as we do each and every time, I want to get your instant analysis. But before we do that, if it's your first time watching, we appreciate you jumping in with us, guys. We probably know this is going to be a tough one to go through. So if you're here with us early, we appreciate you. If it's your 50th time watching, thank you. The link is in the description if you want to join the show, as you always can. And the like button is appreciated. Now that the housekeeping topics are out of the way, Jason, but instant analysis, what you got?
You know, it comes down to the little things. And sometimes those little things can flip a game on its head, and that's what happened to Georgia. Second drive, they go 14 plays down the field. You're thinking you're getting a field goal at least, and Trevor Etienne fumbles the football. Then you get the ball back, and you have a walk-on run into the official on the sideline, and that's 15 yards instead of being to where you could maybe get a touchdown there. You're a lot closer. You end up settling for a field goal. So those two drives result in 3 points. Then you compound that with the sequence at the end of the first half, where to me the game flipped on the drive before, and it didn't seem like it maybe in the moment, but I'm sitting there thinking Georgia's success really, and they might have changed this just because they hit that shot to Arian Smith. But what was really working early and what worked against Texas was keeping it calm, keeping it composed, and just taking it inch by inch, kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. And that drive before Notre Dame went up 6-3, where they went 3 straight passes, where it looked like they were trying to go deep and intermediate on all 3. To me, that was where they got away from what they were doing and what was working. That allowed Notre Dame to get some momentum, get the field goal, and then they stayed aggressive. And Kirby said he regrets it, given what happened. But, it's just those little decisions can flip a game. And I don't blame Kirby. I'm not blaming anybody. That's just how it goes sometimes. That those plays, games typically come, like games against good teams come down to a handful of plays. And just about every one of those plays went Notre Dame's way.
Yeah, it was a rough watch. There was a couple of things that Georgia could have done, like you said. The fumble is a tough one, right? Trying to get rid of those, Jason. I see you squinting.
Yeah. No,
I've got a few of those. There's like 5 or 6 of them. I got rid of them. So, the fumble by Etienne was big. Like you said, the walk on running into I feel bad for him. Right.
Yes, he's not trying to do it. It's just
right. At the same time, you got to be off the white. Like you can't be there. That's the ref's runway right there. And that changes the game because you get 3 points instead of 7. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at it, you go, okay, they're moving the ball fairly well, and then drives just stalled out. And then you had a drive. What was it? Right there, 3.5 minutes to go in the second half, Jason, and they throw it 3 times and about 15 seconds comes off the clock. And then just kind of all hell breaks loose after that, right? Notre Dame scores 17 points in less than a minute if you count the run back touchdown in the second half. And the game just got out of hand too fast, too quick. And give credit where credit's due. I think Gunnar Stockton played about as good as he could have. His offensive line did not help him at all, period. His running backs didn't help him at all, period. I think he did all right. Like there was times, Jason, and I'm sure we'll discuss this. We're only 5 minutes into the show right now, but we will discuss this. Like, is Gunnar the option for next year, right? And there were times in the game where I was like, man, he looks like he should be. And then there was times where I was like, they need to go get a transfer portal quarterback. So I don't know if this helps or hurts Gunnar moving forward. I think the team definitely rallies around him for sure. And, there's some changes that need to happen. Sherry Brashear said O-line coach at minimum. There's coaches that probably need to hang it up. But like Caleb Peavy says, the best part of the season has been hanging out with this community. Appreciate that, Caleb. You guys make it fun for us too. But yeah, there's just a lot of mixed emotions. I also don't think there's a team had Georgia moved on that could beat that Ohio State team. So maybe you're just
as of right now, yeah. But we saw what Ohio State did against Michigan, so who knows?
Okay, all right.
You never know with Ryan Day, but if Ryan Day they play like they have the last 2 games, nobody's beating them.
Right. The offensive line to me tonight just didn't get it done. You moved Truss over to left tackle, that didn't seem to help you, and it also almost seemed like a panic move to me, Jason, doing that kind of. Yeah, Monroe got beat a couple times, but then you throw Ernest Green in there, who hasn't played in 4 or 5 games.
Yeah,
and move Truss to left tackle and not put Ernest at left tackle where they're both comfortable. What shaped the game for you the most, though?
Well, really, yeah, the offensive line. You worried that Georgia, could Georgia move the ball on the ground, which has been a struggle, but tonight was. I mean, credit Notre Dame's defensive line. I mean, they've dealt with a lot of injuries and they did a good job of containing Georgia's run game, and which I mean hasn't really done much. But Georgia's offensive line has been sound in pass protection, and that first half was abysmal. And obviously, giving up that sack fumble there at the end of the first half was one of 3 plays that completely swung the game. I mean, if you look at if you take away that sack fumble and the kickoff return, you're talking about it being probably a close defensive, boring slugfest all the way through. All of a sudden, this team's up 17, and Georgia has to completely go away from what showed to work early in the game. Which was being methodical and playing ball control, making Gunner be more of a game manager type of quarterback, and so yeah, to me, really, it came down to the offensive line in the first half, and just those swing plays where can't have those mistakes happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, 10-9 is kind of all right. Cool. Well, I'll talk to you later. That's no problem.
So
there?
Yeah. Right. The light was.
It's all right. It's okay.
Dimming really strangely. Yeah.
I think 10-9, right, is kind of a score that you see if you don't have that sack fumble, and then you have that touchdown return, and then you're close into it. There was also times where they could have got back into it too. Like you thought they had momentum and it just didn't work out. You have to look in the mirror though and see that there's some things kind of wrong with your team, whether it be going out and getting a portal wide receiver, which there's been rumored to be 5 or 6 of them coming to Georgia, and none of them showed up. You also have to think, Jason, I know people don't want to start thinking about this. Yes, the transfer portal closed on the 29th, I want to say, but teams in the playoffs have 6 days after their last game for players to enter into the portal. So there could still be some kids from Georgia leaving. So there's always that as well. And before we get too far into this Sugar Bowl game, I'd be remiss, Jason, if we didn't mention kind of our thoughts and prayers being with the city of New Orleans and the tragedy that they went through, and both teams having to go through that as well, and pushing the game back a day, and both bands, I mean, and fans. I couldn't imagine what you guys went through down there, and I'm glad that hopefully we're just an outlet for you to, if you need a distraction in this difficult time. So I didn't want to get too far into the show. I didn't want to lead off with that, but didn't want to get too far into it without at least mentioning it and letting everybody know that obviously football is great. It's amazing. It's what brings us all here. It's what keeps us getting a paycheck, Jason. But at the end of the day, humanity and lives and all that are much more important. So I wanted to kind of put that out there real quick. And then we can get back to football, Jason. But one guy, I don't know if we want to get him on. We'll do it. He's the only one waiting. We'll bring in Spano. There he is. What's up, baby?
Why do you always hesitate before you bring me on? I'm going to be totally okay tonight. I haven't even. This is like my 3rd beer.
Because I like you a lot, and I want to. I kind of build that up. I build you up. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Hey, I'll tell you what. First and foremost, my heart goes out to everybody that was involved in the whole that whole incident. I had family members and friends of mine who had college kids that are down there that were infected by that, but nobody was hurt. But they did have friends that were injured. So, but prayers go out for them. For the game, it was crazy. I thought it was like a 54-second swing game, between the end of the second half and the beginning of the first half. And that was pretty much what it was. Like you called it like right on the head. It was a slugfest. It was just a knockdown drag out. But I just don't think Georgia could overcome what was put in front of them with Gunnar Stockton. I don't know what you guys' thought or mindset was, but I thought they had Gunnar try to do too much of what Carson Beck did. He's not a 5 to 7 step drop back passer. He doesn't scan the field well. Mike Bobo loves to run the sweep plays, but if they're beating us on the edges, why just keep slamming a shovel in your face? You know what I mean? It was crazy on that side of the ball. And then and defensively, Kirby just has this habit, not Kirby, excuse me, because he's not missing tackles, but what's going on? Georgia used to be the best tackling team, and I saw the comment just a moment ago, and I was going to say it too. Georgia used to be the best tackling team in college football. What's happened lately?
Yeah, it looks different. It looks like angles are off or something. Like Malachi Starks is going to be a first-round safety, and he had some terrible angles tonight. Not to just single him out, everybody did, but it just, like you said, it didn't look like a Georgia at times. There was other times where the defense, like, there's the Georgia defense that we know, right? But there was also times where I was like, man, what? Like, how are they getting 8 yards on this run right here when they had it stopped? 2 yards in the backfield.
Well, I think the big one was Dan Jackson's missed tackle, which here's the guy who made the big play against Georgia Tech that saved that game. And he comes up, it's right before that fourth down with the special teams running off the punt. And, the play they got reversed. So it's 4th and a half a yard. But that play should have gone for a loss of, or not even a loss, but, at the line of scrimmage or a loss of a couple yards. And instead, he just bounces off. It was just poor execution in critical moments by the defense, and still the defense played a pretty sound game, especially passing game was non-existent for Notre Dame.
It just seems like a lot of open field missed tackles, which really never do. And I know Malachi Starks is going to be a first-round draft pick. He did not have the best year at Georgia this year.
He didn't. And it's a hard truth, Anthony. It is. Like he is the quintessential like guy you want representing your program. And his first 2 years at Georgia, spot on. He just didn't. Right. He didn't have. And maybe it was because the first 2 years that he had at Georgia were just so good, right? That comparing.
Well, he also had a very good supporting cast around him.
He did. Yeah. I mean, you look around and look at what Georgia lost in Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard, Tyke Smith. All those guys are making big time plays as rookies in the NFL right now. Losing those 3 guys and only having Everett and Starks come back out of that secondary, Georgia can reload as good as anybody in the league. But at some point, you have to rebuild it as well. Yeah,
I feel. Of course, every Georgia fan watching the game was like, "Well, we got a chance to come back, and we're keeping it a Kirby game." But I just never saw at one point in the game that we could even go on a death march, whether it would be to chew clock, whether it be to get 3 points, or or possibly a 7-point game to really put a stranglehold on the game. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean. It's an 11-3 season, but I really think Kirby is going to have to look in the mirror and say, "Look, the game's evolving. The amount of talent we have coming in next year, and I know they're true freshmen. Nobody plays well as a freshman. Jeremiah Smith, nobody plays well as a freshman, especially if you don't have talent around them. But there's going to have to be some soul searching with the receivers we have coming in, with the tight ends we have coming in, with the offensive line we have coming in. I really think, and I don't know about you, I mean, I know it's a post-game reaction show. I'm supposed to say it. But I really think we need to look into a real quarterback controversy, because I don't know if Gunner's going to stay. I don't know if Kirby's going to try to get somebody in the secondary period. as far as a quarterback transfer, but the amount of talent we have coming in for the next 3 to 4 years on the offensive side of the ball will rival that of some of the highest output offenses in the country right now. To go along with the defense, which is always going to be a strong suit for Georgia, you know.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Real quick, before I answer that, because that's a great point. Shout out to our man, Mr. Willie Carlin. $50 to the show, man. We appreciate that a ton. We appreciate that.
Really, let's go, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that's awesome. We appreciate that. And if you guys feel like donating on this sad night, the donation button is there for you guys as well. We're here for you.
I would have done it, Paul, but my kids are way too old, and I'll be paying for this till like June.
No, but you have, and again, thank you so much, Mr. Carlin. Thank you. That helps out a ton. I think so. There's a couple of things here at play, Anthony, that you brought up, and I want Jason's point on this. Georgia did not take a quarterback in the portal.
Yeah.
Right. That's
yeah.
They tried.
And unless they try to go get a quarterback from one of these teams, because again, you have that 6-day grace period with the teams that are still in the playoffs, yada yada. Right. The only guy that you could really try to go get would be like either Ewers or Arch. I get anyways. All right. I digress on that. They didn't take a quarterback. So what they told the fans was, hey, we have faith in Gunner, because what you have to do now is if you don't have faith in Gunner, you either have a quarterback competition between Gunner and Puglisi, right?
Yeah.
Or you bring somebody in the spring, which
Rashada.
Well, Rashada's third. Kirby said as much. He's third.
I'm just saying in the spring overall. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So you have all three of those guys, but now if you take a guy in the spring, Jason, is that too late? Like, did they hurt themselves by not going after a quarter? First off, they didn't go after anybody in the portal, so I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, they went after the Cal kid, and he chose.
Well, sure, yeah, they went after them, right? But they didn't land. What I meant was they didn't land.
They didn't land one, yeah, but it wasn't without trying. But then again, when it comes to NIL, if you have one team willing to spend more money on one player in a place like Georgia, which is looking to maximize money to different positions and maybe not be as competitive at quarterback in the transfer portal, this is what you're going to get. And so, yeah, I don't know if they can go after. I don't know who's going to be available in the spring for them to get. So there's part of me, unless something happens, somebody ends up unhappy out of the spring and you bring them in, then you have the fall essentially as a brand, kind of like Rashada was, where you miss the spring, you come in and you would have to be really good at that point.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. We all thought Rashada was, so we all
I guess my point is it's going to be really hard for them to get a starter in the portal. So I think you're looking at either Stockton or Puglisi, possibly Rashada, but I would lean toward the first two starting next year.
Justin Farmer with the $10 donation there. He says, I've been saying this all season. We just don't have the receivers outside to get separation. The talent coming in is very, very good. We were set up very well for the future. I agree. There's a picture floating around. I think Benjamin Wolk over at Dogs247 put it on Twitter, the 4 Georgia wide receivers that are mid-year enrollees, and then he had the picture next to him of the Alabama 4, all those guys, Judy, Ruggs, all those guys. Yeah. I don't know if it's like that, but there's some good talent coming in. But also, Anthony, before I let you go, how much can you rely on incoming freshmen to be wide receivers, or is that the way that college football is now? Can you do that?
Well, I really think that the best players should play. And what I've seen is the guys that Georgia's have on the field that are sophomores, juniors, some of them seniors, they're not the best players. I mean, their job is to do their job, and they're not doing their job. Contested catches are one thing, but wide open catches are not. The tight ends were hardly seen in this game. I don't know if that was by design, but
I thought for sure they would be going to them heavily in this game.
I really did too, because I thought because Gunner really did well in the SEC championship with the quick checkdowns. Whoever was dialing the plays up were getting the tight ends open, and they're normally mismatches anyway. But his game is not 5 to 7 step drops. It's not. Yeah. He's got a slow release. I mean, that's an analytical thing.
He's got 9.9 throw power on that thing. Like that's a great player throw power.
That's great, but if you can't get it off, you're firing blanks.
I don't know. I don't know if he's firing blanks tonight. Was he firing
No.
blanks?
Well,
No,
I think what he's referring to is the sack fumble. I mean, you credit Freeling for it, but that's a long release.
Yeah, he's got a very long release.
Carson Beck gets hit on the play, but he gets the ball off.
Yeah, and it's just, but that's part of the offensive coordinator's job is to play to the strengths of the trigger puller.
Yeah,
Gunner's not that guy. He's not. That was he's played 6 quarters of competitive football. And one of them was a 4-quarter football game in the college football playoffs, and all they did was tee off on him the whole time. That's it. To me, that's an offensive mishap, from the strategic play calling. But I will say, these boys played their ass off all year. You guys have the best show, period, when it comes to Georgia football. I'm sorry I haven't been on much.
I miss you, brother. I miss you.
I talked about it before. We got to meet up, dude. Jason, look, Jason, look.
Don't show Jason. Don't show Jason. I'm trying to Jason's got to get some growth on that thing before we show that off again.
Jason, does your wife like your hair?
I have to. Yeah, we have an agreement. I have to get it cut more than I would want to get it cut. So it's that's the only way. She's like, it's got to stay shape. She's big on that.
You got to keep it shape. Well, see, my wife's hate makes my hair grow, so that's why it grows as fast as it does. But everybody, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'm sorry to taking up all your time, but God bless all you guys, and thank you so much for everything you do. And we're gonna hook up, guys. I promise, man. I'll buy you guys a couple of duels or something like that because I know Paul doesn't drink. Talk to you guys later.
I got something in here tonight. We'll talk to you later.
What do you got?
Who cares? All right,
nothing. You got nothing in there. Water.
I see Spano in the background just cussing me right now in the back room. Let's get Tim Morris in here, and let's bring in Dayne Young. I got you, Willie Carlin, up next. JC. And we got the doc. Oh my God, we got Dr. Steely in here. This dude hates me. He absolutely hates me. He's here. I love it. We'll face to face, man to man, mano a mano. Let's bring in Tim Morris so he doesn't hate anybody. What's up, Tim?
Yo, I don't have the hair like Jason and Spano.
Hey, well, I'm losing mine too, brother. It's all right. That's why I wear a hat.
I just want to give a shout out to you guys. You guys do a great job, and I've been watching the show from Paris, France, for like the last 2 years. So.
Thanks, man.
You guys doing awesome. And as far as the game, we it was what it was, and I felt like Notre Dame played better than what I thought they were going to do, and they outplayed us. And outside of the sack, fumble, touchdown, and the kickoff return start of the second half, is like we had the game where we wanted it to be a Georgia dogfight, and just couldn't pull it off.
Couldn't get back in it, Tim, is kind of the big thing. Is you got down and you're used to this Georgia team being able to come back, right? Especially after this year. God almighty. I mean, every time you looked around, it's 3 points, 7 points, 10 points in the first half, and they come out and drop 40 on their opponent's head. And you thought for a second that could happen, but there was always that little thought in the back of your head, like maybe not, right? This team just maybe all the luck has run out of this team.
Yeah, especially when the fumble happened with ETN. This is his first fumble in his career, and just like shit.
This is his first fumble in his career?
Yeah. That's what they said on the broadcast.
Oh, wow.
That's what they said on the broadcast. First fumble in his career.
Jeez. What a
heck of a hit from the Notre Dame player.
Yeah, it was.
But I do feel like Kirby Smart's going to learn from all this, and condolences to all those who were affected by the attack yesterday and whatnot. And I do feel like Kirby will learn from this and be able to grow and figure it out next year from the scheduling standpoint.
For sure. Well, Tim, man, we appreciate you calling in, man, and appreciate you watching as well. It looks like a comfy little setup you got there. So
yeah, man.
Tune in for what's the bowl tonight? The Ole Miss Bowl? What is it?
Huxley, right?
After this.
Huxley. Tomorrow's the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I'm looking forward to that. Somebody's getting mayonnaise on.
It's already 2:15 here, so.
Jeez. Hey, take it easy. Go to sleep.
Yeah, bro. Okay.
See ya.
Where did he say he was?
Hold on. Let me get him back on. Tim, where did you say you were?
Paris, France.
In Paris. Oh, nice.
Damn. Well, we appreciate you watching all the way over there.
No, appreciate y'all.
Yeah. At first, I thought he said my parents' ranch.
And
I was like, "You're watching? Like, why are you announcing that you've been watching us for 2 years from your parents' ranch?" I'm like, "That's kind of." But then I was like, "Oh, Paris, France makes a lot more sense, and it's a hell of a lot cooler."
I was like, he has to be in Europe, but we have friends in Germany right now. And,
yeah, he said 215. I mean, I guess
it's crazy. Those friends that I just referenced, they're Penn State fans, and so like we were sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, Georgia, Penn State," and no, it didn't happen. So I guess I'm rooting for Penn State for them now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll watch the games, right? But at this
it's kind of funny. Like once, usually it's like
once Georgia's out, it's like
you just check out, right?
yeah, it's same thing with Braves. Like once the Braves were out of the playoffs, I don't know if I watched an inning. I truly don't think I watched an inning of postseason baseball once the Braves were out. Yeah. Let's bring in the big dono real quick. Big donation from Mr. Willie Carlin. There he is.
Hi there.
We appreciate it.
Now, my parents had a pretty cool farm, man. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah,
a
yeah,
ranch,
yeah.
but,
You did. Yeah, you did.
This folks' ranch might be pretty cool, you know. You never know.
That is right. That is right. I've known Mr. Willie for a long time. His son and I run a business together, and his parents did have a really cool ass farm. They're friends with Jimmy Carter, so that was down there. They had a peanut farm and all that. So, right,
All that
peanut.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as when we were farming, it was all across the board, but that ain't got nothing to do with football. But
right,
we did grow peanuts.
Yeah. What's got to change on the? Okay.
All right.
Yeah. What did you? First off, 23-10.
Just
did you see this? Did you see this coming?
Just damn. I guess what I had a bad feeling about from the time the walk-on player cost us the game was what I've been seeing all year long is where we missed bunking was the red zone, short field offense.
Yeah.
How many? I mean, he was money when he got down inside the 20.
Yeah.
And Bobo hadn't been this year. And yeah, I know that was a bad fumble, and but here's the worst thing about it all. I got this damn 40-foot wide TV. You see every little bit of everything going wrong. You watch, I mean, every left tackle we throw out there get just blown off.
What did you think about them taking? Okay, it took Freeling out. Was that a good or bad move? Just one answer, yay or nay.
Yay.
Okay, it's a good move. Now, was it a good move to put Truss at left tackle and Green at right tackle, or would you have put Green at left tackle and kept Truss at right tackle?
I mean, to me, I thought Green was a left tackle.
Yeah, because there was a play there. There was a play there, Jason, where Green was at right tackle and two guys rushed, and he just didn't. And I don't blame him for it. Like, it's a totally different position than left tackle. Yes,
it's like everything's reversed. That's the issue.
Correct.
So if you're
everything is reversed.
Going one way with your body, everything's reversed, and yeah.
And the guy didn't do anything special or different. It wasn't inside move versus outside move or spin moves. He just ran around them.
Yeah. I mean, they just didn't pick him up. Yeah.
He just bull rushed and ran around them. So anyhow, that was hard to watch. But yeah, I thought the biggest issue was when they did get past midfield, they stalled every time. And I've watched that happen all year long. Awful lot of field goals and not scoring at all when they get them close.
So you got 30 seconds, Mr. Willie. What do you change, or do you change anything coaching staff related? If you're Kirby Smart, you're Kirby Smart for the next 30 seconds. What do you do going into next season?
Stacey Searles, I'm afraid, has got to go.
Okay.
I mean, you want to blame all the drops on your coach, but look at the folks he's bringing in, so you can't fire him.
Right. You got a pretty talented group coming in, and I'm sure he's still going to try to get some transfer wide receivers.
I mean, the like I said, the only standout that I can say is Stacey Searles, and I'm not ready to give up on Bobo yet. But
That's what I was going to ask you. If you're ready to toss him a bone and send him out or not, but not just yet.
Not just yet. He did, although, I'm not. I thought he could have had a better game plan today. I mean,
I thought it was going to look a lot different than it did.
I thought it was going to look like Texas in the second half. I thought it was going to be ball control, game manager, which actually this team benefits from because of the issues at receiver.
Right.
And if you can kind of slow the game down and play to Gunner's strengths.
Well, they started out that way.
I know, and that's what was crazy.
And we're looking good.
That's what was crazy. And then it was at the end of the first half, that drive, the 3 passes, and it got away from them.
Yeah, I heard y'all talking about that earlier when I first tuned in, and that was like, I didn't understand that. It was, and Gunner went cold right in. He was missing folks bad.
Yeah, he went.
He was like perfect up until that point. 7
9
for
7,
11, whatever, and then he just missed all 3 of those bad.
He started 6 of 6 actually.
I think he was 10 of 11, and then he went 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 right after that.
And it was at that point right there where he just everything just
Yeah.
It's like where did that but they were still getting some runs and not just straight out trying to just go straight with the pass and throw in the ball, but they were getting some good runs. They were getting stuffed a lot for sure. But they were it was a slug to get a first down.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Much less trying to get a touchdown. Like it was tough just to get a first down, and then trying to drive. And then when you do drive down the field, you have the walk on run into the ref, and then you have ETM fumble it on 2 different things, and it's like
and that pass Dylan Bell dropped was just oh my gosh.
Like that culminated the season into a T.
I mean, when Arian Smith finally catches the ball, you think okay, somebody's on our side tonight.
Right. Right.
And then no, hell no.
And there was a couple flags though, Mr. Willie, where I was like, somebody's on Georgia's side. There's going to be a lot of folks saying Georgia got held all game, and then there's a thing circulating around the internet now where the wide receiver on the fake punt / thing that Georgia was offsides on false started, but there was a lot of penalties I think went Georgia's way, like the illegal motion shift thing to keep them from getting that first down.
I thought that was the only questionable one, man.
That was a little weird.
That was all right. How do those 2 running into the kickers not become roughing the kicker call?
The first one should have been roughing for
the
sure.
First one for sure, I thought was.
I thought he caught his leg. The second one too, just as bad.
We got it. So I think you're allowed to, as long as it's not crazy forceful, you can hit the leg in the air. I think it's the plant leg that if you hit automatically.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, plant leg. But
he ran into that. He ran into that really hard. I mean, that was an possible injury situation.
It was almost one of those things where I was like, if Kirby runs him out there a 3rd time and they hit him, I feel like this is on purpose because they know nobody else can punt the ball. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Like, this is the same guy that did it back-to-back times. Like, if Kirby was like, hey, we'll punt it again, and then that kid gets hurt, it's like, all right, what's going on?
And nobody even slowed the guy down either time.
The second time you'd be like, all right, well, maybe we should probably block this.
We want to watch this guy.
Yeah, this guy right here, he got in pretty quick last time. Oh no, let him go. It'll be all right. But Mr. Willie, we appreciate you. Got some more folks waiting in the back. Right. Thank you so much for the donation too. Thank you.
You be good. Take care.
All right. Yes, sir. Amari Carmichael with the donation says, which player got better this year? There's a good bit, I think. Let's bring Dayne Young in here, and then we'll round robin this, and then we'll bring in James Carraway, Steely, and John.
I love the setup.
Yeah, I came to the podcast studio.
Yeah, it's
at the day job.
Is that where Tate and Brett Thorson do their game?
Yeah, they've done it here before. I don't know if they do it exclusively here.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I've seen some clips.
Yeah.
Dayne, I didn't watch you and coach tonight. I don't know if I could handle it. You guys had a ton of viewers though, so I'm not taking away anything. What was coach's reaction?
Surprise, some disappointment, some decisions that he probably would have done differently, but overall just surprise. I think that Georgia could not run the ball on Notre Dame without Notre Dame's best defensive tackle. And Paul, I've kind of thought Georgia should have been better at running the ball all season long, and that wasn't the identity of this team. It was a passing team, and that's one reason that I picked Notre Dame to win the game, because I thought coming into it with a new quarterback. Even now, when Riley Mills got hurt against Indiana, I paused for a moment because he makes Notre Dame significantly better. But Georgia got pressure on Gunnar Stockton. Notre Dame stopped Georgia's running attack, and Georgia just wasn't consistent enough offensively. I thought Georgia's defense played really well in spurts, but then by the end of it, it was kind of worn down. And look, Georgia struggles with quarterbacks that can run. That's just going to be a constant with this particular team. Does that change in future years? We'll find out. But for all the overreaction you're going to hear, I think a lot of that is because the perception of Notre Dame is that this is Notre Dame of 2012 that doesn't belong in postseason play with really good teams. And that's not this Notre Dame team, but this is a really good team, a team that I think is going to the national championship.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I didn't know Zachariah Branch committed to Miami 9 hours ago. So that's the last big guy Georgia was going after at wide receiver. That's unfortunate. It's not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great, Bob.
It's not great, Bob. Yeah, it's tough, Dayne, watching this team. And I heard you before. I did hear you. I'll take this back. I listened to a last-minute show because I wanted to hear you shout my name out to say.
And I did. I did my job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You mentioned that Georgia, the season is not to be diminished or something along those lines.
Hey, yeah, Georgia had a really good season. It won the SEC. It won a lot of big games. They had to go on the road and play a ton of tough football teams, and then it had some great home atmospheres. So there's going to be a lot of disappointment tonight. That would have been tonight or potentially next week, or definitely if it was a national championship loss, there would have been disappointment because only one team gets to be happy at the end of the year, right? I thought Georgia did a lot of good things this year. I know people are going to be upset with Mike Bobo because these are 2 games in a row that Georgia's offense just hasn't looked very good. I just keep going back to midway through the season when Carson Beck is going on this interception spree. Mike Bobo, I have to give credit to him for helping kind of calm that down and resetting him and getting back to playing really good winning football. That's a really good coaching job to me. So I don't think that's something that you throw away because of disappointment in the moment.
And not to throw you away, Jason, but I just saw Dash tagged you in an article.
Oh, okay.
So to say it was actually 10 minutes ago. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
Would have told you sooner. But before you leave out, first off, thank you for what you've done for the POS this year. We appreciate it a ton.
Of course.
Final thoughts moving on. We might not see you on YouTube until maybe, I don't know, whenever. I'd like to get you on the Sunday show, but your final thoughts on this season and what
my guy.
Forward. Yeah. I'll talk to you, guy.
I think it's interesting. On one hand, I think it's okay if you feel disappointed in this season as a fan. You still won the SEC, but it just didn't have that same feeling that past seasons have. I think Georgia has had a really amazing run lately, and this year wasn't it. It's Kirby's least talented team since his first year, at least in my estimation. With that said, you could argue this is one of Kirby's best coaching jobs, given it's probably his least talented team since 2016. The offensive line, to me, is what they got to fix. Whether that is the coach, the offensive line coach, Stacey Searles, whether it is a player personnel, just lack of identifying the right guys, which I do find hard to believe. I don't necessarily think these are bad players. If I was to say anything, I would lean towards the coach, the position coach. Something's got to give up front. And to me, that's where it starts. You win games in the trenches. I think that's just the rule of football. It always is, always will be. And I think that's a really hard decision. When you do bring in guys you like and are your friends, those decisions become harder. And that's why I would say in a lot of professions, be careful when you decide to hire your friends, because these things do come up, and that's gonna be my parting thought, because I think this season would have been much better for Georgia if they had the offensive line play that we've been used to seeing in the last 8 previous seasons. And that's
the
it.
Man, the myth, the legend, JB, Jason Butt. We appreciate you so much, man.
All right, y'all take care.
See you. Cormy says, hey there, Paul. I have a quick question. Do you think Bobo was tapping out by calling that screen pass down 2 scores with no timeouts and 144 left to go in the game? Is this a sign to let go of Bobo? I don't know what the hell that was, Dane. That was atrocious is what that was. That was bad. That was BAD.
I mean, sometimes quarterbacks have like reads of, if one thing's not there, then you go to this other thing. They just do what their coach to do.
When you're down by 13, your read is to throw it behind you and throw it to wide receiver.
I get it. I mean, there were signs that Georgia was, body language doctor here. There were signs that Georgia was resigned to what was happening by that point anyway. It's a fair point. Like, you're not going to go score a touchdown on that play. So,
right. And also, to be corrected here, Luke Barton is saying that Branch committed to Miami. I don't see that anywhere. I saw it on one article, but I think that was a little premature. So I don't see it on any of the big recruiting websites saying he's committed. So Georgia's still got a chance. It's all right. One guy's got a chance. His name's James Carraway. He's always got a chance. There he is. Here's your chance. Your chance is to shine, James. 23-10. I thought you weren't getting on the show tonight.
Yeah, I was just so pissed off. I've been going back and forth, and I was like, I got to come on. I can't just keep this to myself.
Well, the floor is yours, baby.
I mean, I think the biggest difference was this year. Jason was right. Is Kirby's least talented team. I know we're blaming a lot of coaches, but he's the talent acquisition guy, and I would not get rid of Kirby Smart or anything, but you got to call it how it is. The recruiting class, especially the offensive line, was not what we expected, and I don't see how you fix that. I don't think you can go get an offensive line in the portal. And although the wide receivers that we brought in are really good, you can't win in college football with 2 to 3 freshman wide receivers starting. We don't have a Jeremiah Smith of that group. We have good players, but none are great to that level where they could just step in and play. So his team really had no identity. We've gone from one of the best third down teams offensively and defensively the last few years to, mid-pack to below average. And that was really the difference, in my opinion, is they couldn't get off the field when they really needed to, and they couldn't extend drives when they really needed to.
How do you fix it?
I think this team is a couple years away. I don't, we have the same schedule. We're at home, but I don't think we have a national championship contending team really, because you are going to have injuries. I didn't think Carson. I don't think Gunner. Gunner maybe next year, but I don't think either of them were good enough to win a national championship, and that's primarily because of the offensive line. You doubled up your sacks from last year. You could not run the ball. And that's not an overnight fix. I think the defense is going to be really good next year. In the next 2 years, Kirby's defense could challenge to rival those great ones. But until you can shore up the offensive line, and I really don't see us winning. You're not going to win with a young offensive line either.
Offensive line's an interesting one too, because preseason, I think everyone would have said that's one of the team's strengths, especially with the returnees coming back. Tate Ratledge's injury early maybe have affected some of that, but Monroe Freeling struggling tonight, I was confounded by that, because for a month I thought he had really elevated what Georgia had been at left tackle. And we had seen Georgia's offensive line in some of the games in the last 6 weeks or so really lean on the other teams, and you saw some growth, and all that was zapped tonight. And this is a Notre Dame defensive front that has been debilitated by injuries, not just with Riley Mills in the middle, but I mean, they've been losing edge guys all year.
Yeah, but I mean, and let's not take away from Monroe Feeling what he did those 4 or 5 games. Like he changed that offensive line identity. It just tonight wasn't his night. We got a donation from Alan Berry, $5. Appreciate it. He says, it feels like Kirby getting outcoached by lesser coaches that have teams with lesser talent is becoming a trend.
See, this is where I think Notre Dame is a really, really good team, and I think Marcus Freeman's one of the best coaches in the sport, and I'm going back to like Cincinnati competing with Georgia in that Peach Bowl, a team with much less talent, and he was controlling that defense and gave Georgia fits. I think Marcus Freeman's just really good at his job.
Yeah, what I think is happening, like you said, Dane, everybody's remembering the Notre Dames of yesteryear. And this is a different team. It just is. They had guys that could compete with Georgia. And this also, like in a much broader spectrum, James, kind of shows the parity of college football. Like 4 years ago, this game happens, you're like, Georgia's winning this game. It doesn't matter, like, because they just have the dudes. They have more guys. They have more Jimmys and Joes. And now you see it where Jeremiah Love goes to Notre Dame's always been able to recruit, right? But like they've got some players up there, and so do all these other schools as well. Like the talent level across the board is very slim in terms of what it used to be. And I think that that's just kind of what's catching up. And the SEC has to play each other and beat itself up over the whole season, whereas Notre Dame, gets a cupcake schedule and waltz their way in. I think that's kind of a thing that we didn't talk about either.
Yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame was who I thought they were going to be. I didn't think Riley Leonard played great until the end of the fourth quarter. They really wore offense down. They didn't run the ball. They had that one receiver who made a few plays. I think it's more of all of us as a whole. We highly overrated Georgia's talent versus other teams rising to the top. Because, we thought this offensive line would be great. We had Michael Williams as a 10-sack guy. He did really come on. The DBs really got burnt at the corner position all year. And I think it was just more of Georgia's talent, not as good as we expected. We thought it would be on par with Ohio State talent. And does that mean you need to spend more money? How many times does Kirby have to see this before he says, we need to spend that Ohio State, Oregon money, and is that even possible?
Just to recap here, because you brought up a good point. Michael Williams on the year finished with 15 tackles, 5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles.
Been his stat line for like 3 years, I feel like.
Yeah, it's you're pretty close. Yeah, 15 tackles his freshman year, 4.5 sacks. 16 tackles his sophomore year, 4.5 sacks. And his junior year, he had 15 solo tackles, so 20 tackles total with 5 sacks. So, yeah, that's spot on, James. It was the same each and every year. I don't know.
Paul, I want to add this too, because I understand Georgia fans that would say, how can Notre Dame lose at home to Northern Illinois and then outclass Georgia in this game? And some of it, look, Kirby Smart made a horrible decision to be aggressive late in the second quarter. I think we all agree on that. You go into half down 6-3. You disagree, Paul. If you have Carson back, maybe. But with your new quarterback in that situation, deep in your own territory, I mean, you can't predict your left tackle will give up that play. I get what you're saying.
Well, I mean, you can predict that because that's exactly what happened to Carson and took him out for the season. That's what took Carson out. That's the same exact play. So, but no, the hindsight on that's 2020, right? But yes, I agree. You probably should have gone into the locker room 6-3 and thanked your lucky stars that you had your backup quarterback in that situation.
Because
so yes, I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
Make a different decision there. If you make a special teams tackle to open the second half, all of a sudden this game has a completely different complexion, and Georgia has a way to nickel and dime itself back into it rather than have to kind of change the game plan there. Georgia made a decision late in the second quarter that ended up costing a chance to win the game, and it almost gathered back to give itself a shot there in the third quarter. But you couldn't make a fourth down at the middle of the field. And then, yeah, the punt and then drawing off sides, like that was Georgia being outcoached. And you don't see that much. And I think that's some of the frustration too, is this was a Georgia game. I mean, Tate Ratledge had a false start. That's one of the team. It was a critical false start.
Dylan Fairchild, second team All-American.
Yeah. And then the continued drops at wide receiver. Like at some point, that's just who you are. and it's not an accident. There are some good players or talented players that made a lot of good plays, but Georgia's not as good at wide receiver as pretty much any team left in the playoff. They're probably better than Notre Dame at wide receiver, but like Ohio State's on a different planet at wide receiver than Georgia is.
Jeremy Neighbor says Gunner needs to have someone change his mechanics to improve the quickness of his release. Also, shout out to Jeremy Neighbors. His wife is having a baby. We're Facebook friends, so shout out to her. Hopefully, they had the kid because we've seen James have a kid. We've seen me have it. I mean, we've been around a long time, guys. We've gotten to know each other. So shout out to Jeremy. Hopefully, your wife is doing good in labor right now. But he's right. The release is it's a little lanky, if you will, James.
Yeah, but I think Carson's sacked there too. We've seen back-to-back games, your biggest games of the year. You've ended the half with a sack fumble, and Texas was damn close to running that back. I think you got to know your personnel, and the offensive line has been an issue all year. I think you run the clock out there, and I would take down 3, 6-3, 10 out of 10 times. Georgia lost that game in a 2-minute and 30-second span. Field goal, sack, fumble, touchdown, and kick return. If those two plays don't happen, ifs and buts, but you're up by 1. So I think it was just a failure to look in the mirror and realize, hey, this is the team I'm working with. Let's get to the half down 3 and figure out what we're going to do offensively, because really we have no idea. ETN was dancing like crazy. And whether that's the O-line, that could be, but that was another thing.
ETN 11 of 38 with a long of 8 tonight, 3.5.
Frazier was the best back. Frazier was the best back today. He ran the hardest. And Kirby, he sticks with his guys for better, for worse. He stuck with ETN. I thought Frazier would have been the play there. I think he brings energy to the offense, and the offense looks so lethargic. You're looking for anything to give some energy to the team.
Well, and I made a joke on Twitter in the middle. Like, I think the most reliable pass catcher on the team this year was Cash Jones.
For sure.
Yeah. Jeremy's son got here at 2:35. Shout out to that New Year.
Congrats.
Kid. Yeah, congrats. James, I'm gonna move on to the doctor, if you don't mind.
All right.
From the lawman to the doctor. So we appreciate you, James. We'll catch up with you soon, brother.
All right. See you next year.
Thanks, James.
Let's bring in the doctor, Dr. Steely. There he is. This guy, I'm glad we're face to face, mano y mano, baby. Here we are.
Happy New Year, Dayne. Good to see you, friend.
Happy New Year, Doctor.
Always
Appreciate you
love
being
seeing
here.
Love seeing you on this show. You're looking golden today. Stealth, great lighting. You have no brand confusion going on today, like the host of the show does. Paul, it's
hey,
good
brother,
to see
how
you,
are
brother. I
Hey,
appreciate
man.
you, man. You know that.
Yeah.
Hey, Dayne, you said one of the smartest things. You said a lot of smart things, by the way, but you said one of the smartest things a minute ago when you said about Freeling, how well he had played, right, in those out of 4 or 5 games he'd been playing really well. I don't think – did you say that too, Paul? I'm sorry.
I said that. Yeah, I said that.
He said it after me, though.
Yeah, he did. I thought I heard Paul say he didn't watch the game, so I'm not even sure if Paul was engaged. I don't know if he was playing his Game Boy chair that he's in, if he was playing Tetris or what he was playing. But there was a game tonight, Paul, if you didn't know that. It's a playoff game.
I didn't know.
Anyways.
The deadpan delivery is getting me, man. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I really didn't think the O-line played terrible this year. I mean, I didn't think I don't think they played as well as they should have played. Here's my issue. A couple issues. I'm not going to overreact on this game. I 100% agree with Dayne. Paul, I 25% agree with you that Notre Dame was the better football team. They were the better football team coming into this game. They were healthy outside of the one player. They had the better quarterback from an experience, being able to play, knowing the scheme, not having to learn the scheme in 3 weeks. They did what they needed to do to win. Now, we helped them out, but they did what they needed to do. They're the better team. What I want to overreact on is where we are right now, to me, as a program. What concerns me is, and Paul, you said something, I think Jason said it too, when we talked about, somebody put in there about players that have been developed. man, you would have to argue hard with me to give me a guy on this team that from the start of the season to the end of the season developed into a guy where you were like, man, he got a lot better. KJ Bolden, I can probably give you that.
Okay,
But Dayne,
I was going to say KJ.
He was forced to play.
Correct.
Right? Frazier,
Correct.
forced to play. These were not guys that Frazier may not even have played if the other two kids would have been healthy. Right?
True.
Like, where I'm concerned is, where are we seeing the development of some of these kids that are coming in? And I just don't see it. I don't see a development pipeline of where we're looking at guys and going, that guy's going to help. That guy's going to be really good. That guy's going to be really good. Now, if you're going to say Chaz Chambliss and what's his face, Dan Jackson, then I'm getting off the call. For God's sakes, man. There were no expectations for these guys coming in. They were forced to get better. They were forced to get better.
But on the contrary there, Doc, they did get better though.
But here's what I'll tell you. Those two guys are built different. How much of their development did they develop on their own because they had the heart and the grit to do it than these other young guys that come in, and they've got to have a coach develop them because they're not developed in high school, guys. These 5-star guys are not. They go out there and they score 6 touchdowns eating a sandwich at halftime. Like, they don't have to be developed. Into a college football player, if you don't have the grit and the fire inside of you, you've got to have a coach and a program that develops you. And that's what I'm concerned about. We have questions at quarterback. We have questions at running back. We have questions at wide receiver. We have questions at O-line, D-line, inside linebacker, pass rush now because we're going to lose 2 guys. And on the back end, I mean, 7 can't play. Coach is about to come unglued for that guy. 7 can't play. Bolden is good, right? Everett's serviceable. But Dayne, help me out, man. Where do we see these guys at?
I think the truth is in the middle here, which is not great for a post-game overreaction show. But it's because Jared Wilson developed this year. Even Jalen Walker developed a ton he's going to be a definite first-round pick at this point. I don't think that was the case coming into the year.
Not to cut off your great, amazing take you're about to do. Jalen Walker probably should have been playing more than he did this year in previous years.
Yeah.
So that also kind of goes into the coaching aspect of what the doc's saying here.
And we may say the same thing about Chris Cole in coming years.
Paul, do me a favor. I appreciate you agreeing with me. Don't interrupt a golden boy when he's about to share.
Jeez, this is crazy. I don't know how much you
Okay, go ahead, Dayne. My apologies. Continue.
I think you were on the right track of there's some key positions that you look at and you don't really see a lot of hope at the moment. Like Carson Beck at the end of last year was probably peak Carson Beck at Georgia. And then he went through that dip in the middle of the season where it's like, man, does Georgia need to make a change there? But then if you make a change, you see it's Gunnar Stockton. Do you believe in that? Probably. I mean, maybe. But there's no confidence that Georgia's going into next year with a great quarterback situation. There's not much confidence that Georgia's going into next year with a great wide receiver situation. And look, one of the things that I find frustrating is Ohio State gets Jeremiah Smith, who's a cyborg. I'm not saying everyone should have that, but there are other good freshman receivers that contribute all over the country. Alabama with Ryan Williams. I thought Wingo at Texas was fantastic this year. When's the last Georgia freshman receiver that was a true, I mean, really anybody at Georgia that's been a true game changer at receiver? How am I being labeled a homer?
I don't know. I just wanted to put
Dane's
it up
the
here.
furthest thing from a homer. All he posts on Twitter is when he gets close on his prediction. That was the first thing that cat posted. That's what I love about it. Dayne, I agree with you. What I would say too is, here's the other thing that I don't understand. How many passes does a cat have to drop before you take him out of the game and you say, bro, I just can't. I understand. I can't play you though.
But here's the thing, Doc. Who else are you going to put in?
I wonder if that's why Nitro got in at the end.
We have not developed anybody. We have not developed anybody. That's the problem. When you say we don't have anybody else, and you're the University of Georgia with top 5 recruiting classes since Kirby's been here, and I'm not picking on you, Paul, but that's what we say.
Yeah.
Well, you play Dylan Bell because you don't have anybody else. That's a problem. That's a problem.
I think
cat dropped 5 passes tonight, guys. 5 passes. Listen, Paul, as great as you are at your job, I don't know what you do, deal meth or whatever you do. If you didn't make a meth delivery one night, right? Your boss is going to tell you, "Hey, bro, it ain't going to work." Where are we as a program when we have a guy that misses multiple tackles or makes a two dumb penalties? Xavier Trust, by the way, which I know drives Dayne crazy, or drops passes that we don't. Are you telling me we don't have the development to put another guy in? We put one guy, a freshman, in and threw a deep a corner route to him, and he played one play.
I've found that the way that Georgia uses the portal reveals what it feels about its roster. And so preseason, when they're bringing in Colby Young and they're bringing in Humphreys and Michael Jackson, that told me, oh, Georgia does not have depth at receiver and may not even have overall talent. Humphreys he's a guy, he's fine. Michael Jackson wasn't even good enough to play, and he's already out of here. And then you saw it happen with Colby Young, which I understand. Colby Young, Ra Thomas, those situations happen. I don't think that those two guys fix the room.
Oh no, I think they do.
No.
I think it's a totally different team if you have Ra Thomas and Colby Young out there all year. I think it's a totally different wide receiver.
What did you see from Ra at Mississippi State or Colby at Miami to make you think that they were going to be saviors for Georgia, wide receiver?
But here's the thing: you wouldn't have to play these guys in different positions. You were having to play Dylan Bell in a different position than what he's used to. Like Arian Smith is your X receiver. No, I mean Ra is going to be that guy. Like I think that honestly, I think that is the biggest change to this team that could have happened is Ra being on this team. Like it would have put the wide receivers back into their certain roles that they should have been in. And him leaving,
I would argue
he did
that Lovett was better than both of those guys, and he did nothing.
Yeah,
he did.
They didn't utilize Lovett like he was utilized
again. That's what I'm saying. They didn't develop him.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I get
it's a scheme, guys. It's a scheme. It's a scheme problem, man. It's a scheme and development problem. And I like Mike. I know Mike. Like Mike as a man, he's awesome. Bobo is great. He's a great dude, man. He's a great dog. I love him for who he is and what he's meant to the university. We got a scheme problem with him and Searles, man. We got a scheme problem, and we saw it in the 3 losses. I mean, I didn't know what we were trying to do offensively tonight. In the 3 losses we've had, and every game where we've started slow, it just seems like we don't necessarily know what we want to commit to do. And it's not a.
Starting slow.
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say the starting slow thing. I mean, that has to be addressed, right?
It has to be scheme, right? At some point.
I think it's more personnel. It's the same scheme, but you didn't have Brock Bowers. It's the same scheme, but you didn't have Lad McConkey. So get better playmakers in there, and the scheme works.
Or no, not get better playmakers. Develop better playmakers. Dayne, we got.
I mean, they developed a Lad McConkey, so it's not like they can't do it. So
didn't we know Brock? I mean, were we the only 3 guys that knew Brock and Lad were going to leave? Were we the only Could we not have played Lucky a little bit more? Could we not again, I'm not on the inside. I mean, you guys are closer than I am. I know Paul's out there practicing with the team as big as he is. So I just don't. What I don't know is. I'm worried about the development, guys. I'm looking 2 or 3 years down the road, and I'm just going, man, I don't know. I mean, and guys, we're not even talking about how many dudes we might lose to the portal beginning tomorrow or the next day. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem to me. It's a problem.
I think I agree, Dayne. I don't know. I think I agree with Doc. I think I agree with him.
Look at this. God, did y'all feel God just move in the house today, guys? Praise Jesus. Did you just see what happened?
I gotta know before I let you go, Doc. What are you a doctor of? You seem like a chiropractor.
Love. Yeah.
Dang.
My wife's just over. She's right over here waiting. No, I work for a company called Maxwell Leadership. So I got my PhD in organizational leadership and strategy. So I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm a.
We're gonna bring you into UGA sports and let us teach us about teamwork and leadership.
Dayne, Dayne, man, you guys. I mean, it's so dysfunctional over there. I could fix you guys tomorrow, right? I'd put you in charge. I'd fire Paul. It's solved. It's
But
solved.
look, you'll get your. I'm about to bring on the boss here, so you'll get your wish here in just a second. He'll do that exactly right now. But I got to get him on because he's inside the bowels of the Super Bowl.
I appreciate you
Superdome.
guys, man. Love both of you. You're great. This show is great. I know you guys don't get paid mega bucks to do this. I know we all appreciate the work that y'all put into this. And,
How do you know that?
But you don't get paid mega bucks.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, how do you know that?
You can tell I wear the same pullover for every show.
I've seen Roddy's workroom that he works out of, and that thing is the god-awfulest green-looking thing. That ain't a guy that's got a lot of money. I mean, that thing looks – that green seafoam room that he operates out of, it's terrible. So if the big man doesn't have money, I know the peons below him don't get paid either. But you guys deserve more, but you deserve all the credit because you guys are great, man, and you hold us together. So I appreciate you. Paul, you're the man. Congrats on the baby. And Dayne, take care, man. I really love you and appreciate you, man.
See you, dude.
Right back at you. Appreciate you.
We got Roddy without the seafoam green. I like the seafoam green, Roddy. That was a direct shot. Bro.
It was. That's fine. That some bitch doesn't know how much I pay you guys. What did we pay you to begin with? Doc of smuggling drugs.
Right. Yeah, he said I deal meth, so I
see. I told you that's my guy. And the green was an idea of having a green screen,
right?
Back
Yeah,
before
I
they had
figured that's
technology.
TV thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I do use it for a lot of TV stuff. So what's the question?
You were in the building, dude.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of questions.
I asked Kirby a bunch of stuff after the game was over, and I guess we could report it here in case you guys haven't. I doubt you've had a chance to play his press conference, but I asked him about, hey, okay, you have a situation where it's a sideline call that goes poorly. And he said, they told us that it was a coach, and then I was told it was a player. And it's a safety issue. I get that, but that is just undisciplined. And I just tweeted out what he said about it. He said it's a safety concern. Most of the time, they'll grant you a warning on that. But this was a situation where it cost us 15 yards. But he said, look, we still had a 1st and 10, and we didn't score. So I'm like, okay, well, he's calling it like it is. It was the same thing when I asked him about the Notre Dame lining up to go for it, taking the punt team off, bringing the offense back out, and Georgia jumping off sides. He says, look, a couple years ago, the head of the SEC told us we could not do that. You can't have 11 go on and 11 come off. You're not allowed to do that. Or at least we were told we couldn't do it because we'd done it once before. So, but he said, again, it's on us because we subbed. We got our defense out there. I think that they were trying to hard count us, do a hard count, get us to jump off sides. I don't think they were going to go for it. I think they would have lined up and punted it. But he says they were, and the question came up, why didn't you call a timeout there? Did you think about it? He said, no, that's what they wanted us to do. They're down 2 scores.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what they wanted.
He wanted you to have to call a timeout by running the team out there. They said, no, we were quick, so they tried a trick. Kirby had his defense out there, but then they jumped off sides. Again, said it was our fault for doing that. So, but he mentioned repeatedly, because everybody was asking different questions. I asked him about his, offense, and he said, "Hey, we've had issues. We played a tough schedule, but throughout the entire press conference, he kept mentioning we gifted him 14 points. We gave to him." He said, and he kept saying it was the 2 turnovers, guys. It's not that complicated. People were asking about, the time off between games and the teams that were that all got the bye, everyone losing. He's like, it was the turnover, guys. It's not that complicated. We had 2 turnovers. They had none. They're a good football team. Both teams are very physical. We had 2 turnovers. They didn't. And, if I thought Kirby was full of BS, I'd say that was a bullshit answer because I have done so in the past. But if you ask me what are my impressions of the game, I just did a hit with 11 alive. I said Georgia gave them 14 points. 98-yard kick return, 13-yard slant, sack. I did ask him, Kirby, why are you trying to throw the ball 33 seconds left in the half?
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you say?
What the hell are you thinking there? Didn't say it that way. I asked very respectfully, of course. He's got 105 guys he can bring over to my house, beat my ass. But he said, you have to be aggressive. When you're trailing, you can't afford to waste a possession. they were going to have to kick off to Notre Dame after the half. And he's like, we were trailing, so we were going to be aggressive. We were going to run our 2-minute offense, our quick passing offense. And he says, I didn't expect the left tackle to get blown up and, strip sacked there. So I'm not saying he called Monroe Freeling out, but he just said I wasn't expecting to come through that hard. So
he didn't really have to call him out.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
Did anybody?
Normally he doesn't even mention where it broke down.
Right.
So he normally just says, "Hey, it didn't work out the way we wanted to," but he's like, "Yeah, I didn't expect the left tackle to just get smoked there." So
Did you get asked about moving Green to right tackle and Trust to left tackle and that whole kind of debacle, or
it's national media. Everybody's got their own stories to write,
Right.
And so 45 questions about seating and schedules and stuff like that. A lot of people want to know about, how did you feel? Like, I don't want to know feelings. I want tactics. I want game plans.
What's his answer, though? I'm curious.
Well, Paul, and my assumption is that he wanted a veteran in there at left tackle just to kind of get through to the next series, just to kind of calm everything down. And Truss has been there forever. So but that's my assumption for why that happened. It didn't stay that way, obviously.
My question is, this is now a huge, like you said, national thing. It's blown up on TikTok. All 4 of the teams that got buys did lose. I'm sure that he was asked about that. I'm sure he had a very politically correct answer on that, or did he not? I mean, I'm curious.
He said, no, it was 2 turnovers, guys.
Yeah.
It was nothing beyond that. He said, we lost. I don't know about the other team. Well, he said 2 of them. It wasn't politically correct. He said 2 of those teams were basically much better than the others. He called the way he saw it. He's like, I don't know if he said better teams or I'm sure he didn't say bad teams. But he said 2 of those were just better teams. Like, the seeding was stupid. So, but then he says in ours, it was the 2 turnovers, guys. He goes, it's not, and you know how he likes to lecture. And he says, it was very simple, guys. It was 2 turnovers. And he was right, 100% right. It was, you can't have a strip sack on the 13, and you can't, then also the long touchdown to start it there. That was just brutal. But you're driving, you get into the red zone, and you turn the ball over. That's a huge swing there. So that's it. I'll give you and I know you got Zach and Jordan and John to come on. I tweeted out at the end that this has been a very weird season. I don't remember a Georgia football team that could not run the ball. Just
been a long time. Been a long time.
I also don't remember a football team that misses many tackles. Although there weren't that many today. Kirby said that he thought they tackled well, but there were a few. Even Dan Jackson missed one.
Yeah, there were a lot of maybe not missed tackles because they couldn't even get to him to tackle them, but like missed angles. Yeah, to where missed pursuit angles were just not great.
Season long. There were the games, mid-season where you had 16 missed tackles, 13 missed tackles, just a lot of missed tackles. The Tech game, Jesus. Never seen a season with so many drop passes.
Well, no, they're the most in FBS this year.
Again, they weren't very penalized compared to where Georgia's normally in the top 3 or 4 in the SEC and having the most penalties. They were kind of middle of the road this year.
Even tonight, Notre Dame had significantly more penalties than Georgia. Yeah. It was more than double.
They normally, but I asked Kirby about that, and he, earlier in the year, and he's like, you kind of want to be towards the top because you want to be as close to pushing the edge on penalties as possible. Because if you're never getting penalized and you're not playing very aggressive, I'm like, oh, yeah, good point.
They did interview Marcus Freeman after they interviewed a coach after every quarter, it felt like, but I think it was after the first quarter, and he was like, yeah, I'm not a fan, or no, it was after the halftime. He's like, I'm not a fan of the procedure penalties, but I am a fan. I'm not going to tell my guys to slow down on the other penalties. And that goes to Kirby's point is what I'm getting at.
And he did mention, he says there were 2 times where they basically roughed our kicker, but he says that's a judgment call. I'm like, Kirby, a little shade there. But again, season wide, not missed tackles, drop passes, able to run the ball. Very weird season. And when I wrote my column about what I expected Georgia to win because they had such a size advantage on these guys. Now, sometimes that works against you. The young guys are smaller, quicker, faster. You can scheme around size. But I just thought Georgia, after what we saw in the second half against Texas, I thought Georgia would be able to go out and match them. I understand, Notre Dame's going to load the box, but there's still ways that you can run the ball. And Georgia was just so ineffective against it. It just kind of mind-boggling to me. So, again, very weird season. I've been doing this a long time. And this was injuries, just crazy injuries. Multiple overtimes, very, very weird season. Terrorist attack.
Yes.
Let's see. It's a freaking weird season. I hate that it's over. I think that the number one thing I hated about the season was the way Georgia beat Georgia week after week after week. And that is not something that I'm used to. I'm trying to take credit away from other teams. But how many times did Georgia get in Georgia's way? How many times did you have drop passes? How many times did you have missed tackles? How many times did you have turnovers? Georgia's going to end the season -1 in turnovers. Not +3, not +5, not +9.
Jeez.
-1 on the season.
And
mediocre on special teams for kick on returns.
And here's the thing too. And somehow, some way, they won the SEC this year. I mean,
that's the whole weird point.
Yeah.
All these fucking problems, and they still won games that were the number 2 seed.
It's still,
it doesn't make sense.
I mean, with a season this long, you're going to have so many different versions of teams because they're teenagers playing a game that requires cohesion. And so Notre Dame will lose to Northern Illinois and then beat Georgia. And it's not going to make a lot of sense other than week to week. They're different. And Georgia was different. The Georgia team that beat Texas twice didn't show up against Ole Miss.
Well, I mean, they were consistently weird.
Yeah, no, that is very true.
But here's the thing. I was prepared to pick Notre Dame to win this game until we had that media day, just because I thought that Georgia had used up all its 9 lives, 8 overtimes versus Tech. Thanks, Chris Green, Garcia, excuse me. The overtime against Texas. The fact that Gunnar Stockton didn't drop the ball when he got knocked the hell out. Should have fumbled. That's just luck. That's divine intervention. Escaping Kentucky with a win when you could have lost that one too. There's just so many times that Georgia could have won or could have lost. Hell, you turned the ball over 3 times when you went to Texas the first time, and you turned them over 4 times. So again, odd season, and I just felt like if Georgia keeps up doing shooting itself in the foot like it has been the last few games. I mean, hell, UMass ran as crazy as they did. It just felt like the last few games, Georgia just didn't have it. But I thought it might be a little bit different in this game just because you're just so much physically bigger on the lines of scrimmage. And you saw that with Georgia's defensive line just gashing them. Again, you gave up a 98-yard kick return. You gave up a 13-yard play. Other than that, Georgia's defense was fine. Yeah. So
real quick before we get you out of here and you go back to having fun on in New Orleans, more transfers to come?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, remember, you're only allowed to have 105 guys now. They have 125 to begin with.
Well, we know I was going to do a really bad shot at a numbered player that we didn't know the number of before tonight and say that he wasn't going to be, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. And I also thought my story idea for Dash would have been the most read.
That was trolling. Yes.
But I think that also would have been the most read article on UGAsports.com. I will not mention what it was, but I think that would have been tomorrow when you send the chart beat out to the group. Very well could have been, because I can guarantee you that page hit when you go click on that page on UGA football roster got 50 million times the traffic as any other number did tonight.
Anyway. And there will be people in this industry who get paid by the click. They get paid by a monthly bonus if they get enough clicks, and they will write about that poor kid or dumb kid or whatever, and that will be their number one story. And hey, I get it. But when it comes to transfer portal, you're going to have some guys and here's the thing, they've got 6 days to put their name in.
6 days.
They still got plenty of time to show up at their new school to be ready for spring. So you're going to see not just the 20 because you have preferred walk-ons and then walk-ons. I expect to see the walk-ons go looking for a spot. But you're going to see some guys transfer because a lot of guys, I mean, they don't play enough. And when you have I just heard a rumor that Jamal Jarrett got like $600,000, for a guy who was average as grits at Georgia. It's just you had another former player who left Georgia telling all the guys on the second team, hey, check out the portal. Here's the deal I got. I got $500,000, which I don't believe he did, but doesn't want to look like that.
You talking about like a DB that transferred?
I'm not talking about who. I'm talking about what. And that guy was telling people, hey, Georgia's second team, go in the portal, or at least check out your options. And their teams would be like, hey, I'll take this second string Georgia player, third string Georgia player, just because of how they practice, just because of. And here's the thing: I know a lot of people get really bent out of shape about Georgia not having added enough players in the portal. I thought Coach Donnan nailed it when we had him on a few weeks ago. He said, look, when everybody's going after all these portal players, they're not exactly just trying to improve their team. He said they have holes. Georgia recruits really well. You lost Sam Mpimba because he can't play in front of Damon Wilson. He can't play in front of Gabe Harris. So you lost a 5-star guy.
Troy Bowles.
He played, Troy Bowles. This is a big get. So you have guys you have players stacked up. Now, do you have holes or do you have thin areas? Kirby himself said, we asked him, where are you going to add in the portal? He goes, or where are you looking to add in the portal? He goes, everywhere. He said, this is the least amount of depth we've had. I'm like, Kirby, your definition of shallow versus other people's shallow is you're thinking in 2021 and 2022 terms. That's what he wants. And I get it. That's what he had at Alabama before, all this went down. It's what he had at Georgia for a long time. Those days are gone, man. So, again, they have a lot of depth compared to everybody else, but you're going to get raked over. Teams are coming. They're going to get some of your players. And if Kirby can add them, he will. I think we're going to see a couple add-ons here, but also at the same time, he's not been very aggressive in going out and adding people because basically if you had brought in a quarterback, you're telling your other three guys, I don't think you guys can win it next year.
Yeah, but he tried to go get a quarterback at the same time.
But even then, yes, he did. So, but again, there was, I don't want to say slow played, but
no, I think 100% this was a tryout for Gunner tonight.
Yeah, but they also had tryouts during, before they knew who the opponent was going to be. They're like, hey, Jaden Rashada, you get out there and do your thing. Let's see what you can do in the next 4 or 5 days. Ryan Pugliese, let's see what you can do in the next 4 or 5 days. If you brought a guy the day after the SEC tournament, it's like, hey, we're bringing him in. Those guys have been like, screw it, I'm not going to do a tryout. I'm ready to go. I got offers,
So here's 2 quick questions before you leave out because we got a bunch of folks waiting, and I know you got the cat's meow that's open back up. So
I need to go give those. There's a bunch of single moms down there that need my help.
Roddy, you love New Orleans probably as much as anyone I know, and we've done New Orleans together. I love New Orleans too. You probably even love it more than I do. I hate that you've had to be there during such a crappy week, but I'm glad that you're gonna be right there as New Orleans kind of comes back from it. I hope tonight brought some normality to a terrible week.
Yeah, I've been a financial lifeline to this town as much as I possibly can. But what are your 2 questions, Paul?
All right, 2 questions.
John loses his mind.
Transfer quarterback, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You only have 3. You got to bring one in. And here's the thing: he wasn't not doing it to spare people's feelings. Kirby Smart spare someone's feelings. He just knows if you bring in a guy too early.
Roddy, I think 21-22 Kirby doesn't give a damn. We saw the way he coddled Carson Beck this year, and I think he might have had a little bit of feelings in there. I think that's just my opinion.
I think that was strategic coaching, Paul. That's what Carson Beck needed. In the midst of this, in the tryouts that Roddy's talking about, Georgia was having conversations with Mendoza from Cal.
Yeah, that's what you need with Carson's, with his mindset. And Kirby believes a lot of that, So that's, But again, it's also a lot of it's about timing. Is my point, It's like, hey, if you bring them in too fast, you lose a lot of the guys that you have. You bring in 2 top wide, or even a mediocre wide receiver. And all of a sudden maybe you lose. Hey, you had Nitro Tuggle jump in. Now maybe Sokovy jumps in. Whoever, it's just they're like, hey, let's try to keep as many of our guys as possible. And they worked a deal. They have buyouts now. So they went and signed as many of their players. Everybody on the team wanted to raise. Everybody's getting raises. So you went through, you signed contracts with them, you put in buyouts. Okay, here's your deal. But now if you leave, this is what you owe back. So a smart move there, but they're trying to take care of everybody they have and then add some more. They got them all done, and they're looking in the portal. Hell, we have a 400,000 thread view of portal updates. They tried to land a few guys, but there are some schools out there that are way more desperate than Georgia is.
That's a good word. I like that, desperate. The second question, coaching changes. A lot of folks asking in the chat, coaching changes. Fire Bobo, fire Stacey Sir. I mean, they're throwing names out, right? They're just whichever coach they want. Coley, Tavares Robbins. I mean, whichever, they're just throwing it at them. Do we see any type of change? And if we do, when would that timeline kind of be, you think?
Where are the openings?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's
like a coach. So what you're saying, a coach to move on his own?
No, well, usually, I mean, that's one. Maybe see
or be
there.
encouraged to leave. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I'll say, and then sometimes Kirby's like, because he doesn't often fire a guy. He lets that guy go get another job. Shane Beaver. Shane was basically told to walk. Not walk. Just hey, you have a signing in 3 years.
He's going to want to fight you for this, just so you know.
I'm just saying, let him. It's a situation where they're like, you might want to go somewhere else. A couple of guys in secondary, same thing. They're like, you're not fired, but I'm going to encourage you to look somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, those guys announce that they're going for a lateral job. So I'm just saying, that the first place I would look for is where are the openings on other staffs, because Kirby just doesn't come out and fire a guy. They let him go somewhere else. The second one is I don't know that he's going to – I don't think Kirby feels the need to change anybody. I don't think he does.
I actually agree with that, because look at some of the receivers coming in that Coley has helped get with C.J. Wiley and Landon Rolden. Like, these are guys that can help immediately.
Taylor, one of the top guys in the nation.
And offensive line, people want to you think you get Gaston without a good offensive line coach to recruit him? That guy's a monster.
Not only that, dude, I sat there and talked to Stacey Searles, 3 days ago, and I asked him about every offensive lineman, and he went into detail every one of them. We're going to have a very good series coming forward about all the position coaches breaking down their players. If whoever doesn't go in the portal, but he signed 6 guys last year. And he signed, a bunch more this year. Again, I don't know Stacey Searles. We're not buddies. My point is, he's able to recruit well. He's got a bunch of them over there, and it wasn't your. Do you blame Tate Ratledge, his illegal procedure penalty, on Stacey Searles?
No, but okay.
Dylan Fairchild, do you blame it on him? Again, I'm just saying, think like Kirby. Not like us.
Okay.
Like Kirby. And then it's like, okay, hey, they loaded the box. We couldn't run on it. Again, I'm not. I get nothing. The best thing that can happen at UGA Sports is for Mike Bobo to be fired, Stacey Searles to be fired, all of them to be fired. It's the best thing that could ever happen at UGA Sports. You know why? Because we have threads up about who the replacement is. We
hot boards,
hot boards. We sell 1,000 subscriptions a day, an hour, a minute. That's why a lot of journalists out there always want coach changes, because they know that I'll hit my bonus this week, But and some of those coaches, they actually help out our competitors. So it'd be great if they were all gone from a UGA Sports standpoint. I've got zero reason to support Mike Bobo, Stacey Searles, 90% of the coaches over there. They don't help us. We have to do our work different ways. My point is, you asked me a question about coaching changes. I'm telling you, try to think like how Kirby thinks.
Okay, well, I'm thinking like Kirby. We had 29 rush attempts tonight for 62 yards.
Yeah, and
my backup quarterback almost got dismembered by my offensive line.
So every time you bring up stats, Kirby rolls his damn eyes. We look at stats. He doesn't. He tells you stats lie. He'll say, okay, what about the tackles for loss that come out of that?
He also says he doesn't read the board either. I mean,
but he looks at different stats. Okay, he's like, how many per attempt? He has all these analytics and things. He breaks the game down 8 ways from Sunday. But for every time something didn't work, he's like, what was wrong here? What went wrong in that play? He doesn't think like we do. I look at the fact that, you couldn't run the ball all freaking year. And I'm like, and I asked him, go look through the transcript. We'll post it. You'll hear my question, my voice. Kirby, your offense had one of the worst years in your history. How happy are you with your offense? He said, we played one of the toughest schedules and played some tough defenses. And that's not sugarcoating it. Or that's not him just saying, moving the coach answer. That's what he believes. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to tell you, watching Kirby since 2016, seeing the moves he makes, I would be stunned if he makes any changes.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Roddy Nabulsi. I will tell you, Roddy, I got very scared when I saw the news come out because I know how late you like to stay out, and I truly was worried. So I was very happy to see your name in the group me, and sorry that you guys had to go through all that, but
it's a little worse than you think. So I told everybody I got in at 2:30 because that's the last time I remember checking my watch. I walked into the hotel at 3:15 because one of our guys, Ken Ward, he had texted me because we were out down together, and he texted me, "Are you back yet?" And I wasn't. So I waited till I walked into the lobby, and I texted, "Yeah, I'm back." And he showed me a screenshot of that, and it said 3:15 is when I texted him back. I'm like, oh. So I just walked through there.
And that's not a lot. Like this man, right? I've stayed out with this man, and he will stay until the sun comes out. And it's like, dude, we have to go to bed.
4 o'clock. Once it hits 4, you gotta go home. But again, it just last I remember is checking my watch at 2:30. I was not. Yeah. So, dude, and I just think about all those poor people, man.
Yeah.
And again, I know a lot of people, they're mad. They can be furious with the team. They can be furious with the players. They can get a fucking life because people died. And this is a game. I love covering this game. I love playing this game. But if you're this furious, if you don't have perspective, after this week, I can't help you. I love you. I love you to death. I'll pray for you. But I'm just saying this game out here sucked. It really did. Georgia shot himself in the foot, and we can talk X's and O's, but just some of the people I'm talking to are just so angry. I'm like, don't get eat up with hate.
Yeah.
Don't let the anger get you. Don't go to the dark side.
Right.
There are people who are a lot more mad than you.
Yeah.
So anyway, That's it, guys. I appreciate y'all having me on. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, Roddy. See ya.
I was going to ask him in the event of a succession plan, who's higher on the chain of command, me or you?
Oh, he just closed. I would have brought his ass back on here. No, you. Ow! I just slammed my finger. Probably you. I mean,
based on that, I haven't injured myself in this podcast, and you have. So,
damn. Ow. Okay.
Can you bring on another person? Do your fingers still work?
Yeah, I think it's all right. I think that's all right. Let's get I need to get another drink, honestly. How long are we gonna go, Dane? Like 2 hours?
Man, I'm here for the show. My kids are to bed. I'm at the office, so. Someone called me a homer, and I mean I'm doing this on campus right now at UGA, so maybe, but whatever.
I say we'll go till like 10 p.m. because we still got some folks waiting. I want to get Zachary on here. He's been waiting a while, but we got to get John's been waiting actually longer than Zach because he's in line, and then we got Jordan, we got JC behind him, and then Tho Bishop, Tho Bishop. I don't know, but we'll get there. Callie Vision says Paul about to get a random drug test for hurting himself on the job. Paul gets a hangnail and he gets on IR from Eddie from Ackworth. Thanks, Eddie. Love you, bud. Happy New Year. Come on, Paul. 2 more hours, dude. Y'all can kick rocks, dude. I have a real job that I have to be at tomorrow. Big John.
What's up?
Looking just dapper as always.
Well, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, and Roddy hit the nail on the head. This is a game, and so it's hard for me to start complaining. But I guess my question is What is a coach judged on? If it's recruiting, then we should never have to worry about getting rid of a coach. But this is the University of Georgia, and we have underperformed at the offensive line position, I would say, better part of a year and a half. And I don't understand the rationale with, he's a good recruiter, but he doesn't, they don't develop. If those are the 5 best guys we have, then he fails, right? Then he doesn't perform at his job. If those are the 5 best that we had playing this year, I don't believe they're the 5 best. I think there's a combination of things going on. I don't know. That's just my assumption. So that's my number one question.
Are you saying entire offensive line, or are you saying tackles?
Well, again, and I know, and Dayne, I think it was you calmed me down a little bit earlier this year, and you said, when I used the word road graders, and you said we don't have road graders. I believe it was you. If it's not, I apologize. And I understood what you're saying, and you were right. So if they're not road graders, again, how does the University of Georgia, that has top 5 recruiting classes, not have a legitimate left tackle?
Okay, so I think Ernest Green was, and this
really not.
Look, this maybe goes into the coaching aspect of it right here, though. Is what I'm getting at. Ernest Green, I think, was coming out of high school. Ernest Green's tape was amazing. Monroe Freeling's tape coming out of high school was amazing. And I'm not completely sold. You haven't completely sold me on like getting rid of Monroe Freeling. I think he just had a bad game. I truly think that he had 4 or 5 games where he elevated that offensive line pretty good. But I think we also thought Ernest Green was, pretty up there in terms of draftable left tackle, and it just fell apart. So you have to look at that. Yes, you lost your center, but Jarrett Wilson came in. I think he did all right.
He was the best all year consistent.
Yeah. I'm also, not to take away from Fairchild and definitely not Ratledge, but I think Micah Morris probably should have got some more look or find a way to get him on the field. Like if you want to play your best 5, I still think Micah Morris is probably an NFL guard that's sitting on the bench. So, I don't know how you can get him on the field with all those guys, but there's something going on with that offensive line. And you have to look at the guy that's coaching them, right? That's just what it boils down. There's no other person you can look at besides the guy that's coaching them. And sure, he brought in some guys last year. He brought in some guys this year as well. But it's the guys that he already had on campus that didn't really develop as much as we thought they would.
And so again, I did not think this would. I would have said I was lying if I'd have thought this before it happened. I believe Drew Bobo is better than two of the guys that are out there. He definitely played better consistently than 2 of the guys that were out there for the most of the season. Damn sure Xavier Truss. You won't tell me that Drew Bobo.
Drew can't play tackle though.
Well, I understand that, but we've been told that our offensive line. Well, this is what we're publicly told, that our offensive line coach believes in the best 5 linemen. They should be cross-trained at every position, obviously outside of center. And I do agree with you, Dayne. You can't make a tackle a guard. You can maybe make a guard a tackle, but that's where my frustration lies. And I have 2 more quick things. I know you guys are trying to get off, and I get it. Tell me this, and I'm going to ask it again. How can anybody blame Nitro Tuggle or Jacoby White from getting in the portal, especially after tonight? How can we blame them? Because if that's my son, I'm saying, son, you're getting your tail back in because this is ridiculous. Dude, dropping balls all over the place. Now, if he's worse than that,
well, I guess
he's gone.
I guess, sorry, I think I lagged a little bit there. I guess the way that I would say it is, look, the guys in front of you are going to be gone. So you have a chance to shine at a really big time university. That's one reason to stay. Where else are you going to go? Like, I think Togo could go to a big program. I don't know if Jacoby White could transfer to a program that would be anywhere near the level that Georgia is. I could see Tuggle making it to a high P5. And he very well could. He could see what happened tonight and be like, look, I'm going back in the portal. I got 6 days to do so, But I think you tell those guys, hey, this is your team next year because we haven't brought any wide receivers in.
Yeah.
You know?
And I want to say this too, that I think Gunnar Stockton played well. And again, I know we can't bag on Mike Bobo on this, and I love UGA Sports, but I know there's,
You totally can. You can do what you want to.
Not you, Dane. There's plenty of Eddie from Ackworth in the chat that just, he's Jesus Christ reincarnated. But
Dude, I love that John has beef with Eddie, and I brought them both on last year.
Nobody can have a differing opinion than Eddie. The thing with this, all right, we open the season with Marshall. Then you play Austin. Marshall is not a directional school, although Georgia will be highly favored. Austin P.
Marshall's whole team is in the portal, so they don't even have players.
Georgia will be a 17 to 21 point, maybe more favorite at home, and then you have Austin P. Your first true test is at Tennessee, week 3. So from what we saw tonight, from philosophy to players to all these things, how are we supposed to feel confident going into the season? Because clearly Gunnar Stockton, his pocket awareness, and we can say he hasn't played much. How is Gunnar Stockton's pocket awareness and our believability and what the plans, and I know it's completely different, but the ability for Gunnar Stockton to perform in that offense that we saw tonight without any wholesale changes, week 3 in Tennessee. That's going to be the first indication.
I mean, if you're asking me to give you a whole lot of confidence in that, I probably can't do it. But I also don't think that Georgia has a different result tonight with Carson Beck. I think the same protection issues would have been problematic.
Right.
I don't know that Gunnar Stockton is a solution to the problems that you're seeing, is what I'm saying. Now, I think that that's still good enough to go win at Tennessee.
Right.
I was going to say, Dane, I thought you were going to go like on a little rant.
Oh, I can. I do. I can rant if you slide out. You're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's still a winnable game with Georgia's roster because Georgia's defense is the main thing. Georgia still has such a good. Georgia's depth chart on defense is more impressive than it is on offense right now. And I think the dearth at the skill players on offense is probably the biggest pain point of, because I agree with you, John, that if you see Dylan Bell drop the amount of passes he has and you're Nitro Tuggle, you're like, well, I wouldn't drop that.
Right. I guess I just don't think that I don't think the plan tonight, and maybe they weren't lying when they said we can't change much of our offense, which you probably can't in 3 weeks. I don't think they put him in very good. I don't think that and even coach was saying it, talking to himself, but out loud, and think, Mike, why didn't you have him roll out? Or Mike, we've got to move this guy. This guy shouldn't be going in motion. Why are we not doing this? I don't think they put him in very good situations. Obviously, with the O-line's problems, that was glaring. I just don't know if Gunnar Stockton, without any wholesale changes, can perform in the offense as it is today.
And I think it'll look a lot different in an offseason for sure. But if you come into this game and you say it out loud of Notre Dame has a good defense, it's the first start for this quarterback that's going against that good defense, and Georgia's skill players have been up and down all year long. Like, it would have felt like Georgia was going to have problems in this game. I don't know that we expected that to be a bad coaching decision at the end of the second quarter. I don't think that we expected that to be a special teams touchdown. And then, like, Notre Dame's a team that just doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. And so when they get a lead, they can do some of what Georgia's done the last few years of just bleed the game away, because they're usually not going to have the turnovers. They're not going to have a lot of negative plays. And I thought that they came into this game with a quarterback that was more proven as a gamer. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he did exactly what they had to do to win it.
Right. So then last thing I want to ask you, and I know Roddy's talked about, is that Georgia's never going to be a major player in the portal because of the money. Georgia's going to always be a player, but they're not going to land these guys. So I was looking while I was waiting. The top 100 guys in the portal we got last year, 3 of them were receivers. All 3 went to Texas. Is it 100% about money, or is it, hey, Steve Sarkisian is an offensive-minded head coach. Offense is going to be a priority. I'm going to Texas.
I think more money matters a little bit more than fit these days. It depends on the player specifically. But Georgia's, I get fans are not seeing Georgia pull people from the portal that are making a big difference. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you there's a lot of players on the roster that are heavily compensated that Georgia decided we would rather pay this person X amount of money to stay here because we think that they are better than what we could get out of the portal. Now, sometimes Georgia's been right with that, and sometimes Georgia's been wrong with that. And look, I mean, they had to pay Carson back a good amount of money to come back this year.
And based on the season last year, it was justified. Obviously, it didn't work out. He had an okay season. I sit here and wonder, too, is what if, Gus Malzahn saw the writing on the wall. He says, I'm going to go be an OC. Chip Kelly did the same thing. You don't think that Kirby Smart could warrant? No. He would never do that.
No.
Because him or because he's not, I shouldn't say not put a priority on offense, but what's the difference between what Ryan Day did and who Kirby Smart is? Other than Ryan Day was probably coaching for his job. I get it. It's probably going to win a national championship.
Could you imagine Nick Saban as someone's defensive coordinator?
No, but did anybody imagine him hiring Lane Kiffin as an OC? But he had an epiphany. He realized he needed to make offense a priority.
Yeah. And that was a different deal with Lane and where he was in his life and reclamation project and yada, yada, yada. You're right. Like, he changed his whole philosophy. And I think some of that needs to be happening at Georgia, too. And perhaps seeing that Notre Dame with a really good defense and a quarterback power game, Georgia probably needed more of that this year.
Yeah.
I think Georgia has to have more QB run options. And what I saw tonight was mostly Georgia's offense with Carson Beck, except it was Gunnar Stockton.
And do you believe, and I guess if you want to wait for the site, I'll ask you on the site, do you believe that it's going to be a true quarterback competition this spring and in the fall?
Yeah, I do.
And so of the three and the one they bring in, so it's not – I think Gunnar Stockton played well. I don't think it's his job to lose either. I think it's wide open. But that's just
I mean, Georgia had very deep conversations with Mendoza from Cal, and you don't have those conversations if that person is not given some assurances they'll have a chance to win the job.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I hate you had to leave, but hey, I appreciate what y'all do. It's going to be a long 9 months, but I'll definitely be tuning into the Georgia show and the Power Hour, excuse me. And I'm unfortunately for us Braves fans, I think it's going to be a long summer too. So.
I think so too, man. But we'll be here for you.
All right, man. Thank y'all.
Thanks, John.
Let's get Zachary on, and then I think I'm gonna tell you what I think's wrong with this Georgia team. Zachary, what's up, man?
Ooh, we got some audio issues here.
Hold on. Let me see. You got two in here. Let's see. Hold on. Unmute yourself, Zach. It's bad.
I may have to get you back in here.
Yeah, we'll get him back in. Let me see. Zach? You there?
I'm here.
No, do you have headphones? All right,
yeah.
Let him get some headphones in. Matt Adams says, was waiting for somebody to say it. Thanks, Dayne. Bubba called a Beck offense with Gunnar as QB. Oh, you said that?
But I just said that just now, but like, also, you're not going to change the entire offense in 2.5 weeks after you won the SEC championship with it. Like, I didn't feel like they did a whole lot tonight that was specific to Gunnar Stockton's skill set. And then also, I think we all saw, like, he can throw the ball some, so it's not like he's just a running quarterback. But my point was, if Gunnar Stockton is the quarterback for the team next season, I think it looks like it meshes better than what we saw tonight.
Michael Thomas he's got jokes tonight. Renette Lopez says Broncos, baby.
Bo Nix fan?
Maybe.
Ashton Genty
for one. No, Dana, I think it might be a culture thing.
You think Georgia has culture problems?
I'm asking.
So you're not willing to say it. You're just going to ask the question aloud and let that sit there like a dead fish.
Yes.
I've thought that Georgia had offensive leadership problems for a while, but I thought based on how the SEC championship game went, where it was awful offense in the first half, and then you come back in the second half, it seemed like ETN had really rallied the team. Gunnar Stockton had really rallied the team. Didn't feel a whole lot of that in this game, and Notre Dame played with more energy, and Notre Dame was more physical, and Notre Dame was better coached in this particular game. That doesn't mean that I think Kirby Smart is a better. That doesn't mean I think Marcus Freeman is the better coach than Kirby Smart. But tonight, Notre Dame was a better coached team than Georgia. That happens sometimes.
William Carlin says changing the O when your quarterback changes is why you get the big bucks. This is true. A lot of folks saying, I agree, it's a culture change. Culture thing. Could definitely see a culture thing. I'm just saying I didn't see any true leaders really step up, Dayne.
This season or this game?
This season. I'm talking overall spectrum of the season. This game, I mean, it was what it was, right? There was a ton of outside variables, and expecting Gunnar Stockton to come in and lead you to victory with the wide receivers with the most drops in the nation. It was just kind of a recipe for disaster, right? And ETN being hurt, but now being better. I mean, it never played to Georgia's strengths in that regard, right? So that's kind of where I mean,
you get magic when your most talented players are also your best leaders, and that wasn't the case for Georgia this season. Other than I think Jalen Walker is in that group.
Sure.
Tate Ratledge is right up there. I mean, he's a really talented player, and Kirby lauded both of those guys for their leadership and how they were team captains. So you had some aspects of it, but like Brock Bowers was freaking undeniable in every way. Nick Chubb when he was, and they led in different kinds of ways.
I was going to say they led in very different type of ways. They didn't talk much, and they carried a big stick type deal.
But Nolan Smith did it his way. Like there are so many different ways to do that. I guess for as much as this team invested into Carson Beck, I didn't see that come out of him, and that may not be his personality, and that's okay. It's.
I think the culture thing kind of is just across the board. You had two wide receivers get kicked off the team for very stupid arrest. And just in general, it just didn't seem like the team ever fully meshed. Like there was always, this team to me never felt like the 22 team, the 23 team, 21, like none of those teams. It was a very, very different vibe from this team, and very well could be because we were so used to Stetson being that vocal leader, that guy on the field that showed his emotion. And that kind of led the team. Whereas you had Carson Beck, who was not that guy. He's a very talented quarterback. He's going to get drafted in the NFL. But I think also maybe looking back on it, having your quarterback, get a Lamborghini, it might not be the right move moving forward. And that's, I
mean, we can say all that, but all the money Ohio State spent, and then we're all saying that's an unstoppable force, and they're going to go win it all. And they looked pathetic against Michigan for a game too. Like this is almost feels like week to week. I think this Georgia team could have won a national championship. That was possible with this team. I also think on any given day, it was possible for this team to lose to about 20 teams in the country.
Yeah. And we're just not used to that. I think Natalie Collins says it right. Chemistry was off. It just felt like the chemistry was off on this team, and we felt it all year long. We felt that every game that they won, they could have lost in numerous ways, but they found a way to win, so that was good. But it just didn't feel like a Kirby Smart team, and not shitting on any of the players. It just felt different this year. No consistency this year. Very lackluster from the Reviewing Necessities YouTube account.
And that's even like quarter to quarter, much less game to game. But the same team that won the SEC championship very easily could have lost to Kentucky.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and I don't know how you change that moving forward. I think it revolves truly, Dayne. I think it revolves around your quarterback. And he's the true leader, of your team. And when your quarterback's soft spoken and he's not that type of guy on the field, your team kind of reflects that. And not saying it's a bad thing. Again, I mean, Carson Beck I think he was a really good quarterback at Georgia.
I mean, unless their talent's just so undeniable. I don't think Matthew Stafford's ever been a rah-rah leader guy, but he's got one of the best arms in the history of anyone that's thrown anything.
I don't know that what was that drive where he got hurt and he just stayed in the game for the Lions, and he did that, like if you show me that tape and then you show me I'm playing with Matthew Stafford, like, all right, that dude's a dog, I got you. But yeah, it's just body language, maybe like something like that just it didn't feel right with this team that they had on the field. And so
I was glad Carson was there tonight. And I know that probably seemed like a given, but like dude had a major surgery and is recovering and is moving on to the next phases of his life. He already announced that. He didn't have to be there. So I'm glad that he was.
No. But yeah, James Caraway says, don't need to be a rah-rah leader, but a dog. No bad body language and an FU mentality. Yeah, I mean, you see that, right? Riley Leonard, he's kind of got that dog in him, and he showed it tonight. Will Howard has that little edge on him. He's still in the playoffs. Drew Aller has that little edge to him. Quinn Ewers has that little edge. Like, you can see where I'm going with this. They all had that edge to them there. Let's see if we can get Zachary back in here. He's been waiting a long time. Let's see if his audio is all right. Let's see. You good?
Hey guys, better?
Much better.
All right, awesome. Happy
What's
New
up,
Year
Zach?
to you guys.
Hey, happy New Year, man.
I've seen better nights, man. I was feeling bad, and then when Roddy came on and said what he said, it made me feel even worse.
That's normally how it goes. Yeah.
Here's my thing, and I know this is an overreaction show, so this may be overreacting, but I feel like we're really kind of at a crossroads. And let me tell you why I say that. You guys realize tonight that the Georgia defense didn't allow Notre Dame to enter the red zone the entire game. The Georgia defense did not allow Notre Dame to enter the red zone the entire game, and we lost by double digits. Okay? Listen, I love Kirby Smart. I'm all dog. I think he's the man. But from one leader to another, you cannot hire or retain your staff based upon your personal friendships. I run a university, right? I'm measured by what the outcomes are, right, as the university president. He's running our program, right? We cannot have Mike Bobo, Stacey Searles, James Coley, Crawford. You cannot have an offensive staff that produces what we produce tonight and they all keep their jobs. That is asinine to me, right? You've got 2 5-star NFL caliber tackles, okay, that are getting whipped by 2-star effort guys. That's a fact, guys. I mean, you've got Monroe Freeling, you've got Ernest Green. These are 5-star tackles that are getting whipped by guys, 2-star effort guys. That's development, guys. That's development. You've got an second-team All-American in Fairchild at one guard, Tate Ratledge, another probably first-rounder, late first-rounder, early second-rounder at the other guard position. That's a 5th-year senior. And we can't run the ball? We had one game this year that we ran for over 100 yards. If you look at the stats, it's been over 25 years. This is crazy that we've gone a season and haven't had more than one game. The only game that we had a rusher for more than 100 yards was UMass. Are you kidding me? At the University of Georgia, with nothing but 5 and 4 stars all across the offensive line, you've got. I mean, this is crazy to me. The other thing that we're missing, we've had a regression at the running back coach position, right? Dale McGee as a loss, that is huge. We got to call a spade. Dale McGee has been instrumental in that running game. Crawford has not stepped up. He has some input on that running game. Listen, to me, when you look at Kirby Smart, I don't think we can't play better defensively. I mean, let's just be reasonable. When you play a whole game and the other team doesn't even enter the red zone, you can ask for a better defensive performance. Kirby's a defensive guy. We're at a crossroads where he's going to have to do what Nick Saban did around 2017, and he's going to have to bring in someone to change the offensive philosophy. When he brought Tua in, that changed Alabama completely. Kirby is still coaching our Georgia team like Alabama pre-2017. And football has changed, right? Defensively, you can still do that. But offensively, he's got to bring in the right leader like we had with Todd Monken, right? And let that guy run the offense. He's got to bring in an NFL guy. He's got to bring in someone. We got to change our philosophy. We can no longer plan to contend for national championships just saying, hey, we're going to play great defense. You can't play any better defense than we played tonight. You can't. It's impossible. But we have got to change our offensive philosophy, and that also starts with he's got to clear that offensive coaching staff. If he doesn't, y'all hear me, and I love Kirby Smart, that's going to be the downfall of our program. He has got to change. That staff has got to go. I'm sorry. It just does. You can recruit the talent, and Stacey Searles, to me, we brought in great talent. That's not Stacey Searles. That's the G. That's the G. It's not Stacey Searles. If you're the offensive line coach at Georgia, we're going to bring in 4- and 5-star guys at the offensive line. That's not Stacey Searles. That's the G. I could do that. And I'm not an offensive line coach, but I got that G when I walk in, given our pedigree and who we are, we're going to be able to recruit 4- and 5-star guys. But the key is, are we developing them? Ernest Green has regressed. He's regressed. He's regressed. I mean, I could go on and on, but I mean, we are at a real crossroads. I really feel strongly that Kirby Smart, as the CEO of our program, has got to take a hard look and say, you know what? I know you're my friend. I know you're my buddy, but that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. We rushed, I think tonight, I saw where I think we rushed for 40-something yards.
62 on 29 carries.
Are you what? And then look at this. Their defensive line average weight was 269 pounds. Are you kidding me? And we're 315 across the board. You can't line up the ball and run right at them. I mean, it's just, to me, like I said, we're at a crossroads. If Kirby does not do something drastic with this offense, and I know this is overreaction, but I'm trying not to overreact. I'm looking at over the arc of the season and what we've even seen last year up until now. Yeah, we lost a whole lot of talent, with, of course, Ladd and Brock, but there was enough talent on this team, like you said, Dayne, to have played for a national championship. There was enough talent there. But Kirby has got to. I love him, but he's loyal to a fault. I'm seeing those are some Mark Richt tendencies. I'm being real honest with you. Those are some Mark Richt tendencies where you're loyal to a fault. Whereas Nick Saban, if you don't produce, your ass is out of here. I'm sorry. Here's the standard. If you're not producing, you're out of here. And that's what I'm used to seeing from Kirby, and he's got to get this right because offensively, that was the worst offensive performance I have seen this. And let me be clear. This is not Gunner. I thought Gunner played reasonably well. I thought he played well. I think you got something that you can work with Gunner. What you saw were none of the people stepped up to help him. He had no help. I was okay with the end of it. I mean, in retrospect, what I have liked for us at the end of the first half to have, kneeled on the ball, been conservative, gone in 6-3. Yeah. But I also understand, hey, who thinks that my 5-star left tackle's gonna act like, who just gonna let a guy go around him that we've never even heard of? It was terrible. And again, when you're running an organization, if you allow your personal feelings to get involved, that's the downfall of your organization, right? It doesn't mean I can't hire my friends, but if I hire you, understand I'm hiring you because you're competent and you can do the job. But that Dale McGee loss, what we've seen, I think we've had so much turnover. Coley, we've seen this with Coley before. Come on, 2020 with Jake Fromm and the receivers we had there, we've seen this. This isn't our first rodeo. So I'm incensed because to me, we lost a great opportunity. I will never believe that Notre Dame should be beating us. I'm sorry. Just look at their roster. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but talent-wise, there's no way. Our offensive line, we got Micah Morris.
The only thing I'll correct you on there is you were saying like 2-star. Notre Dame is mostly 4 and 5 stars. Mostly 4 stars, not a whole ton of 5 stars. Notre Dame's a good team. Georgia has more talent. You're right.
Georgia has way more talent. I'm just saying when I look at their defensive line, and they lost their best defensive ends and their best defensive. We're on their second or third string guys. You're telling me that with our fully healthy 5-star laden offensive line, we can't run the ball. Sorry, something that dog just don't hunt for me.
I'm so glad you found your headphones, Zachary. This has been fantastic.
Okay, there's a lot to break down here. All right,
I'm sorry.
No.
Like, we're grateful.
Yeah, this is where you come to do this. First off, big first. You said you're the president of a university?
Yeah, so I went to UGA for law school, but went into higher education. So I'm president of Edward Waters University. It's an HBCU in Jacksonville, actually.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You guys got a football team?
Yes, yeah. So we're NCAA Division II. We play in the SIAC conference with like Tuskegee, Morehouse, Park Atlanta.
Yeah,
we're in that same conference. Yeah.
You need a guy like me?
I got you. Absolutely.
I mean, look. I can get down.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can.
I can get down.
But leadership is that. I just hate this. Well, I know Mike Bobo's his friend, and Stacey show him. They go back. Man, F that. I need you to produce. I'm sorry. There's no way. Again, I just some of the play calling. It just boggles my mind. It is ridiculous to me. It's just ridiculous.
Second thing is, I don't know if this is your wife or not, but she's been hyping you up crazy.
Well, she thinks that this should be like my second job, because I'm always ranting and raving about the dog.
She's about right.
Look, I lost it. Yeah, is this your wife, Miss Faison?
Yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah, I could tell because
I'm always
shout out.
Again, another reason why you might need a guy like me. I could tell where you already were the president at. She said Edwards Waters. I didn't put it up on the screen, but look, and then she threw the hearts out. I also have a permanent cookout card. I can come whenever, I'm good.
Hey, come on down for the cocktail party. I'm there every game. We do a big tailgate and everything. So every year in Jacksonville. So I'll invite you in, Dave.
Yeah.
Be awesome.
Okay.
Whoa, Paul. Whoa.
I don't know. But no, for real, you made some really good points, and I think you've touched on a lot of what this kind of season summarizes in the grand scheme of it all. And it's one of those things, and this was a big point that you made, the turning point that Nick Saban made, like you said, 2016, 2017. It's very close. It's very close for Kirby at this point. Not nepotism necessarily, but you might need to branch out a little bit, and that might be tough for him, right?
Didn't they do that a little bit this year though, when they became a pass first offense, quarterback centric offense?
But he's doing it with the same folks. But it's the same folks.
But they branched out completely, Dane, and went and got Todd Monken, who had no ties to Kirby.
Exactly. And my understanding is when he brought Todd in, the deal with Todd was, look, if you're going to bring me, I'm running this shit. It's not going to be this where you're coming in. And when he did that, look, we got two natties behind it. Right?
Yeah,
he's
but
bring in a guy.
It's not quite that simple to me, because Todd Monken also rejected Stetson Bennett and told him if he wants to play, he needs to go somewhere else. They kind of fell into that. They picked Dwan Mathis over him, right? And when it happened, Monken executed it great from there. But when I'm that track record is not as simple as Monken was great at everything and Bobo's good at nothing. To me, it's much more nuanced than that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think it's also about development as well. I mean, when we look at, and let's just take the offensive line. Let's take our running backs, for God's sake. I mean, what we've seen with the non-development of the receivers, oh my gosh. I mean, these are not, two stars that we've got at receiver. I mean, you got Arian that was a 4-star. You've got, we've got Anthony Evans. He was a 4-star guy. We don't even see him. These guys are not getting developed, right? These are not guys that no one else wanted. These are guys that were highly recruited by other top SEC Big Ten schools, and they come here and it's like they fall off the face of the earth, right? I mean, to me, we need a wholesale philosophy change. We got to have some different voices in that room. And again, I'm going to reiterate too, the loss of Dale McGee was huge. I don't think you upgraded there with bringing in Crawford from Georgia Tech. I'm sorry.
Oh, you absolutely didn't upgrade. But
look,
Right. There's a receiver coach that I saw yesterday out at Arizona State that may be Kirby's friend, but I'd like to see Hines Ward get over here, right? And show some guys how to block, show some guys, hey, put some fire under some guys in terms of catching the damn ball. I'm just saying we need some new voices, some new energy, some new blood. I mean, for Roddy to say he's not so sure, if we come back and we see the same cast of characters at the coaching position next year, that for me, that is really disheartening to hear as a dog fan.
Yeah, I truly think that this, because here's also like the other, I guess, elephant in the room, Zachary, is that it seems like everybody's always questioning, hey, well, when's Kirby going to retire? Right? Like that seems, and I don't know why it's just Kirby, and maybe it's just Kirby because I'm in this echo chamber of UGA, but like nobody talks about other coaches that are around Kirby's age being like, oh, I feel like he's going to retire soon.
I think they do it with Dabo, especially based on the portal stuff. When he had that quote about like the way this is going, I'll retire if the players get paid or whatever.
I turn on talk radio or something like that, they're like, well, they asked the like Stinchcomb will come on 92.9 or something like that. They're like, well, you think this is Kirby's last year? Why does that get brought up? Like, yeah. So if that is getting brought up so much, then why not try to change stuff before? If you do want to early retire and change stuff, and maybe it might be one of those things where, hey, look, I want to get out of here in 2 years. I don't want to burn bridges with my best friend Mike and my good buddy Stacy, and I'm going to leave him on. But that'll also kind of tell me something like, if this is the same coaching staff next year that is this year, then that also maybe tells me, hey, Kirby, it might be true. Every time somebody gets on national TV, well, Kirby's going to retire soon. And I hear that, I'm like, what makes you think that? I'm like, there's got to be a reasoning behind that. But if you keep the same coaching staff, then it's like, all right, well, I'm keeping all my boys around. I'm not trying to create bad blood for after when we're on the lake together.
Exactly. And if that's the case, as much as I love Kirby, and he'll always be a legend in my mind. I mean, he's up there with Dooley, and I mean, obviously 2 natties. It's time to go. If in fact that's where our CEO is, may be sacrilege to say, but if our CEO is resigned to, well, I don't want to make the tough call because I don't want to make enemies out of my friends when I leave, then we're in a worse place than I thought we were, because that's not what you want your CEO doing. Your CEO is supposed to be making the best decisions for the organization. Personal relationships be damned. Now, I'm not trying to be an asshole to you, but I'm here to do a job. My job is to win championships. Hey, if you happen to be my friend and you're an asset in helping me do that, wonderful. But if you're not, hey, I hope you can understand that business is business. I want to remain your friend, but you're not getting the job done. That's the bottom line. To me, that has to be the bottom line.
One of my favorite points you've made is just Dell McGee's absence, just as a leader. I mean, was he a X's and O's better running backs coach than person X? I'm not qualified enough to really know that, but yeah. I've known stories about Dell McGee for a long time, going back to my TV days in Columbus when he was at Carver High School. That guy's different.
Yeah.
That guy, in terms of like leadership and galvanizing a community and getting people to believe in him and investing in relationships, like, you cannot train that. You do not find that. A person can develop those skills over time, right. But like, he's so far down that road. And the second that he took that head coaching job, that left a void that I think Georgia was going to struggle regardless. Now, maybe they could have found somebody to help in that in some way. And I do think one reason Coley got brought back was recruiting, and you see that this is a better potential group of receiver recruits coming in. Getting C.J. Wiley when he initially went to Florida State, at least committed there. Like that's big for Georgia. I think Roldan from North Carolina is going to be good. But I also understand if Georgia fans are like, I see what Jeremiah Smith is doing, dominating college football as a freshman. Where's that? I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to have brought in, Taylor and Wiley that we've brought in, I think they're great talents. But again, for me, it's about development. If you get them here, but we don't develop them, to me, our issue has never been, even if you go back to the Rick years or before then. Now we didn't recruit the level that we're recruiting now, but we were perennial top 10 recruiting top 10, 15 at the worst recruiting program. It's about, to me, what changed between Rick and the run that Kirby has had is Kirby has definitely moved the needle in terms of us getting top 3, top 5, number 1 recruiting classes. But more than that, it's been the development of those guys. We would recruit guys under the Rick era, and I'm seeing now on the offense side of the ball where we get 4-star guys and 5-star guys that when they got here, they weren't 4 and 5. They didn't play like 4 and 5-star guys. Either we're missing on offense or we're not developing them. It's one or the other. And one of the colloquialisms
specifically at receiver specifically, what is it, like 5 receivers coaches in 9 years of Kirby? That's Dell McGee was the only running backs coach up until this year.
That was the constant. Yeah. I mean, and to me, I think it's Kirby's got to relinquish some control on that offensive side of the ball. One of the colloquialisms that students use is keep that same energy. He keeps that energy on defense because that's his baby, right? But we don't see the same level of, I don't know, whatever it is that we need on the offensive side of the ball. Again, for me, the key stat of the day for today was our defense didn't even let Notre Dame get in the red zone the whole game, right? They didn't even enter the red. The only time they were in the red zone was based on our offense, the tackle blowing, letting the guy get right by him, and we fumbled the ball in our own 10-yard line. They didn't even get in the red zone. So you can't play better defensively. Your issues are on offense.
The jarring thing is that Notre Dame beat Georgia at Georgia's game, which is we're going to have a great defense that flies around and hits you at the line of scrimmage, and we're not going to make offensive mistakes, and special teams is going to be elite.
Well, and I don't think I agree with you on that, but I don't think that's a recipe to win national championships in this era of football. We'll see. But when Notre Dame faces Ohio State, they got to put up some points, right? Because Ohio State is going to score. All right. So that's, to me, again, it's a philosophy shift.
Yeah.
We've got to change our paradigm to say, hey, we're going to play great defense, but we also are going to put an offense out they don't have to be Ohio State, but they can't be what we saw tonight. They can't be where we can't run the ball. We have no receiving threat. You've got to be able to put up some points in 2024, 25 now football. You got to be able to score, right? So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I will say, you got me pumped up, man. You got me pumped up, and I think everything that you said is correct. There's a lot that needs to change. Now the question is, will it? And I guess that's what we have to kind of look forward to. And the problem is, and this is kind of a broader type thing, is the transfer portal has closed, right? And Georgia didn't play their game, and they were supposed to play on New Year's Day, but unfortunately with the tragedy, didn't play until the 2nd. So that's 5 days after the transfer portal closes. Now the only thing that really can happen to your team is bad. You can only lose players at this point. Sure, you can try to go get those guys that are potentially on these other playoff teams, but for the most part, the only thing that can happen to your team from here until the spring transfer portal is bad. And I kind of get, and a lot of folks are upset that Kirby didn't bring in anybody in the transfer portal, but at the same time, it's like, you have this, you're trying to keep whatever semblance of culture and leadership that you have together and say, all right, you are my guys. I'm going to war with you guys. But what has happened now with the way that they've changed this whole, it's a 12-month long college football season, basically, is you're almost getting punished for getting this far in the playoffs, because Georgia, I think, would have gone out and gotten some portal guys, if this game was played 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Or the portal was shifted 2 weeks ahead. And now it's kind of put them at a really big disadvantage, because you're looking at it and going, all right, well, we need some wide receivers. Well, most of the wide receivers that we tried to go after, they're gone now. And the quarterbacks, they're all gone. But we wanted to show, and I truly believe this, they wanted to show confidence in Gunner. They went after the Mendoza kid at Cal, but he went to Indiana. But I think they wanted to show confidence in Gunner, because you bring in another quarterback that was a starter at a different school that put up stats, And then you go to Gunner the next day and say, hey, man, we really want you to prepare well for the Sugar Bowl and do great. And then
he's
lead
he's
us to the
believe
Orange
that.
Bowl and then the playoffs.
Right.
He's going to be like, yeah, dude, like, I know I see the writing on the wall, you know?
Right.
So it's really put these teams, not just Georgia, the rest of these teams that are in the playoff, kind of at a big disadvantage in terms of you just can't go through the portal like you wanted to. And now we're going to see what happens, right? But it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Let me ask you guys one more question. Do you think that it's unreasonable to have thought? I really was hoping that with 3.5 weeks or so to prepare, that we would have seen some philosophical changes in the offense. I felt like we literally ran the same offense that we ran if Carson Beck had been in there. And I really was expecting to see some more quarterback draws, some more, utilization of Gunner's legs, because I think that would have given us a lot more on offense and particularly helped us in the run game. But from what I saw today, we literally ran the same offense and just put Gunner there. And I was really disappointed to see that. I thought had we played, the next week, I'd have been like, okay, there's no time to do that. But I thought there was enough time to have put some packages in, where we saw the utilization of Gunner in the run game to have helped us to be able to run the ball a lot better. I mean, I don't know what
I thought so. Dayne said earlier that it's a little too little bit of time to implement. I thought you could have implemented something. Like I thought for sure it would have been like a 3 tight end set, like heavy play action. They did run some read options tonight, but Gunner didn't keep those read options. It was almost like the same plays that Beck ran, where they ran the read option and you're like, Beck's not keeping that. But there was 3 or 4, and Dayne will probably pull it up on Film Don't Lie, where had Gunner pulled that thing out.
They pulled it. Yep.
I mean,
and at least if you do it a couple times, it gets them to thinking. That's my thing. Now they've got to respect it, which now opens up the run for when your running back does keep it.
But it was almost like they were playing it like Carson was in there, because they were not afraid of Gunner taking that ball out. Like he was open. He probably could have got, I don't know, 45, 50 yards on 3 or 4 runs that they gave to ETN, and he just got bundled up at the line. Like,
The only thing I pondered is maybe most of that was red zone packages, and Georgia just wasn't down there enough. And when they got down there, they fumbled because Notre Dame made a play. Like, maybe that's where most of that time was spent. I mean, that's pretty common. You get a running game advantage when you have the numbers 11 on 11 down in the red zone. You probably, because Gunner Stockton, as good of a runner and as good of an athlete, he is more of a bruising runner than an open field run away from you runner.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, I thought it was a great defensive performance. Looking at it, I think Riley passed for like 90 yards and ran for 80.
90 yards. Yep.
You can't win that game. Something's wrong on offense. I mean,
had I showed you this box score, Zachary, and been like, hey man, who wins this game? You probably would have picked Georgia. 234 yards from Stockton, 90 from Leonard.
No INTs from Stockton. No INTs. He didn't throw any INTs.
No,
if you want to count that turnover on him, I wouldn't put it on him. I put that fumble that he had on the left tackle. I mean, I don't think you could ask much more. It's his first start ever in history. You can't ask any more from the kid than what he did.
In
the Sugar Bowl.
Here's also another kind of aspect of all of this that we haven't thought about is like, I'm sure he had plenty of nerves, right? And then you have, because of this tragedy and this terrorist attack, you have to wait another day. A whole another 24 hours of being in your head and being like, I'm starting for Georgia. Like, it's like,
that's why I think, I think we may have something in Gunner, but we've got to put some weapons around him. There's got to be development. And I'm really afraid for next year because we're losing a lot of these guys on the offensive line. Like that's what bothers me is like, no, you had like seasoned in Ratledge, I mean, your starting guards. I mean, these were experienced NFL draft picks that you're losing
Trust
now.
As much as we
Trust,
didn't,
Trust
as much as we hated on Trust on this show. He was our guy that we just hated on. He had a lot of experience. Like he's gone. What are you gonna go back to Ernest Green and say, hey man, sorry we benched you? my boy, but you mind playing right tackle next year? You know, like there's some tough conversations that have to come from this program. And, you know, I think the defense is fine. Like you go look at the defense.
You're going to be okay on defense.
Defense is fine.
If Kirby Smart is coaching a team, defensively, you're going to be sound.
But I'm 100% on board with like going to find another Todd Monken. And
we need some wholesale changes. Love Mike Bobo
and being
legacy
like, hey,
Bulldog, but hey,
Todd,
it's time to go.
Todd, I might come in and sit on a meeting, but like I really don't want anything to do with this, you know. Type
and
thing.
To me, if Bobo was the dog I think he is, he ought to be in Kirby's office Monday, turning in the resignation. To me, he ought to be saying, "Look, you know, thanks, you gave me an opportunity because I wanted to win a natty, to be on the staff, you know, not in an analyst role. I'm not getting it done. Hey, I love the program. I'm a dog. You need to go another direction." I mean, I know that's totally wishful thinking, but that's what I'd love to see.
Yeah. Well, Zach, what is this?
Look, there you go.
Look at what Dayne found.
I did a little sleuthing. Dude, you look cooler in that pic than I've looked in any picture in my life.
That's a great one. Yeah. About 30 pounds ago.
that man's beard right there is as sharp as a razor blade on the bottom right there.
Good deal.
Cut you.
I'm all dog though. I'm originally from Atlanta. I went to UJ for law school, and love the dog. So
that's awesome. Edward Waters University. Shout out to them, man. Hey, for
absolutely.
Real though, let me know the next cookout. I do have it's gold encrusted permanent cookout card. All
right, I'm gonna shoot you a message on the board.
For sure. Hey, appreciate you. Man.
You're welcome to the Athens cookout too, but you may be disappointed by our cooking.
yeah,
absolutely. Y'all have a good night.
You don't want any of Dayne's cooking. See you, man.
All right.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. You found
man. What a treasure he was.
Yeah, he was really good. And he said the right things, man. He said the right things. I mean, I think if you're Kirby, you got to look kind of hard in the mirror and say, what do I change here? But Roddy is a lot more plugged in than you or I, and him saying that no changes, it's like, whoa.
I think what he's saying is that there's not openings right now. Oh, look, on average, there's 2 position coach changes per year. Now, this last year is because they took 2 head coaching jobs. We know that Glenn Schumann's interviewed for stuff in the past. Look, Mike Bobo, he has 2 options: is either coach for Georgia or retire. Just because I don't think he would uproot his life there for anything else. I think Muschamp is in that same boat: is do what you do with Georgia and be a dad at Vandy, or don't do this at all. Right. And both of those guys have plenty of money, so it's not like that's going to be in play there. So it's what other positions there. And I think one reason that Coley got brought back was recruiting. Another was familiarity with how Kirby Smart runs operations. And when you have so many new coaches that had not worked under Kirby before or been a part of how he does things, that was probably comforting.
I think also, Dayne, if we're looking back on this kind of as media members, I think we didn't put enough light on the fact of how many position coach changes there were and what they meant to this team. I think because we're always looking back on Kirby should have done this during that. We as media members should have been like, hey man, there's a lot of change. Like Fran Brown, we didn't know it at the time because we didn't get to talk to Fran Brown a lot. Fran Brown obviously was a big piece, even though he was only here a year. Like he was a big piece for this team.
And as much hand wringing about Bobo, and I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from anything, like feel what you want to feel, like all this is going to work. We're going to see where it goes. Like Georgia has a cornerback that has been kind of loafing out and playing. And Dante Williams, like Daniel Harris has not been putting in great effort.
Well, and the other thing with that is like, where's Ellis Robinson? But you had Dante Williams, new coach. T-Rob, new coach. James Coley. But these players didn't really. None of these players were around when he was there. Josh Crawford. You had multiple new coaches at multiple new positions, and I don't think we gave enough to that. We looked at it as Kirby is a mini Nick Saban, and what Nick Saban did every year was just reloaded his coaching staff with whoever was available, and he made it work.
Which worked in that era when the talent acquisition happened differently.
Correct.
So whether it was Lane Kiffin or Brian Dable or Bill O'Brien, it worked because they had the best players everywhere.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. Now you have this parody where it's like, you can't do what Nick Saban did and just bring in whoever was the coach that got ran off by another school for whatever problem that he had, but he's a good coach. Every school has really good players now. And you're looking at it like
there's also this like renaissance of like, and maybe this has happened for a while, but Cam Scatteraboo, Diego Pavia, Riley Leonard's a version of this. We're just like these dudes that aren't going to be like special NFL players. I mean, I'm sure Scatteraboo is going to be fine and be a contributor and all that stuff.
Maybe.
Right. But he's not Saquon Barkley is what I'm saying. So there's all these guys that are playing winning football in college, and you can win that way. Stetson Bennett's kind of that.
I mean, Chaz Chambliss is that. Dan Jackson is that. Arian Smith is a little bit like Arian Smith's not going to play in the league, but he could help you on your football team. There's guys that Georgia had that were very similar in that. But I get what you're saying. Like, you go find that kid, and that's – I mean, that's tough. It's just like who was the running back for Missouri last year?
Oh, yeah. This is going to bother me now. Damn it, Paul.
Oh,
because I thought he should have been in the Heisman conversation last year.
Yeah, but he's the same thing, right? He was a D3 kid that Mizzou went out and was like, yeah, we'll take a flyer on him.
Cody Schrader.
But how many Cody Schraders
dude freaking balled out?
Yeah, how many Cody Schraders do you take a flyer on and hope that they work out? So like, there's also that aspect of it too. Let's get Tal Bishop on here. He's been waiting a while. What's up? Okay.
Was that your click or his click? I don't know what happened there.
Like, I put him up here, and then he said, "Look, man, I want to be on the show."
Maybe he had a tech issue. We can hang out for a moment and see if that comes back.
They got to connect their cam back before then. Before we get out of here, guys. Oh, he says trying to fix. Okay, he's trying to fix it. We'll get the Bishop on here, but want to say thank you guys. Thank you a ton. You guys have made my Saturday nights tremendous. There's so many names in this chat that I know, and we've truly grown a bond together. And it sucks the POS is ending because there's no more Overreaction shows to be had, right? We will still do a Sunday show with myself, Andy Stowe, and Eddie from Ackworth. You'll still see Dayne Young on Tuesday nights, Tuesday at noon with Don and Roddy. But this is where it kind of slows down. But we appreciate you guys truly, truly more than you know. The inside jokes. You got the Anthony Spanos and the Eddie from Ackworth, the James Caraways, the Garrett Keys, the Aidens, the Amaris, Jermaine King. I mean, there's so many of you guys, Caleb Peavy's, that are out there that truly, truly make this show go. We could sit here and talk to ourselves for 3 hours, but if your comments didn't come in, it would be for naught. It would be no fun for me. You guys can tell when I do my little faces that like little stuff like that where it just truly, truly means a ton to myself. And I know to Roddy, to Dayne, to everybody else, this show is fun for us. It sucks when you have a Georgia loss because, I mean, hell, there haven't been very many on this post-game overreaction show, guys. Like, we had I want to say, we had the most this year, right, Dayne? We had 3 losses this year. This is like the most we've had since we started this 4 years ago. And
I understand people's concern with it too, because you've won 2 national championships in recent memory, but so had Clemson, and you've seen how tough it is for Clemson to be kind of at the top of the mountain now. And like, Georgia fans don't want to feel like it's kind of sliding a little bit, and I don't think that it is, but I also understand like people saying, yeah, but if you don't make some changes, it's going to. So I hear that too. But I guess quickly, I haven't given a plug for ASW Distillery, Paul.
Yeah, and I haven't even brought up Benton's attorneys at law, but
We've just been
they'll be all
rocking.
right. They'll be all right.
Which one's going to be all right?
Benton will be all right. ASW will be all right as well. ASW Distillery, they make the fine crafted Hunker bourbon, Hunker vodka. They've got it going on over there. They're the guys. Almost all of their grads are UGA grads, and So Willie Carlin says going to be here next season. I hope. 2 kids in a business. It's a lot, but hope to be here next year.
I have 3 kids and 3 jobs, Paul. Let's go. Now I don't own my business, so that's a whole different world.
It's tough. So this isn't goodbye for me. I haven't told Roddy like I'm leaving or anything like that. But it is tough, and hopefully I'll be back next year. These kids will get a little older. But if this is the last time, thank you. Thank you. But I don't think it will be. I think I'll be back. But we appreciate you guys a ton. This will see like little comments like this, like Bill Atchison, Paul will keep the lights on for you. That's a reference back to Ben's hotel days. So, but this isn't goodbye. This isn't see you later. This is just the end of the POS for this year. So we will we'll see you guys, and we will be back. When's the next Georgia game?
Well, we have a G-Day game. I don't know if that requires a post-game overreaction
Did you do
show.
a POS for the G-Day game?
I don't remember. We probably just did like a live show and just kind of talked a little bit, but I don't think we dubbed it a POS. Georgia's first game is against Marshall next season.
Look, I will say, Dane, if there's a quarterback controversy, we might have to do a POS after that.
We might just have to do a live show the whole time and like break down everything in the moment.
If Georgia's bringing a transfer quarterback in the spring, might need a POS for that. But no, seriously, guys, great run for Georgia this year. Great run for UGA Sports. We hit 50K subscribers. If you would be so kind, before you leave out, hit that like button and maybe share it with a couple of your friends. And
we'll have Film Don't Lie on Sunday as normal after the Peach State Power Hour, Paul. So if people want, I mean, I get if you need a few days and you'll have a couple here. If you want to kind of dive in and see what Georgia could not execute as well, maybe some things Notre Dame did to make things a little bit tougher on Georgia, we'll show you what that looks like. And then also kind of probably give a slant to the things that Georgia needs to improve with its roster going into next year. But, like the games are ending for a few months for Georgia, but this whole roster management situation, whew, boy. We don't know who all is going in the portal, but I mean, Roddy told you as well, like, it's going to be very active here over the next 5 days. And look, classes start. I'm on campus right now. I'm at Grady College right now in the podcast studio. Classes start here on Monday, on the 6th. That's
wasn't that the not to keep the podcast going any longer, but wasn't that Caleb Downs' issue, right? That they had to overcome was he wanted to come in after classes started. They made that whole thing work for him. They were like, look, man, you can't enroll, but we'll make it work. And then he was like, yeah, that's awesome. And
I think, the story that I heard is that like while he was looking at apartments, Ohio State upped the offer. And then that was that.
Yeah. Mike says we didn't acknowledge his super chat, and I apologize for that, Mike. He says Stacey Searles needs to go. B. Green and Monroe Freeling were abused today. Yeah, I agree. And thank you to you, Mike Harvey, to you, Jermaine King, to you, Chris G, Alan Berry again, Amari Carmichael, Justin Farmer, Corey from Atlanta, Justin Farmer again, and Willie Carlin with the 50. We appreciate that.
Dang, Willie Carlin, look at that.
Yeah. He's a fan of the show. See you guys next year, and Georgia next year, Dane. Who's the starting quarterback?
You'd have to say Gunnar Stockton right now, but I mean, there's so much to happen here. They like Ryan Puglisi a lot, but I think we have a quarterback battle in the spring.
We have a quarterback battle. There you go, guys. You heard it first. Post-game overreaction show. Notre Dame 23, Georgia 10. that ends the season, but it doesn't end all the content on UGAsports.com. I'm Paul Meharry. That's Dayne Young. We appreciate you so much. Peace.